Oh, Sean, I have some news to share about writing with my non-dominant hand.
Okay.
It's been some major progress. Oh my goodness. I've been doing it for about 4 months consistently, like
Right.
Sunday through Saturday. And I've been noticing a lot of changes. I've been noticing my awareness has raised since I've been doing it just consistently because I put good intention. I was just doing it just because it sounded cool or just testing it out. I did it with good intention to open doors, in my life that I could have been blocking, all this time. And I've been noticing that change. And I just want to thank you all for being part of me being outside my comfort zone. And I want to thank you all for having this amazing community where we all could grow, on a non-judgmental basis. And just thank you so much for y'all just being part of the journey.
Well, LaToya, we appreciate you. It's so good to have you here. It's so good to see you back. Thanks for that little awareness. But yes, when we start to use other parts of our body and we use it differently, the reticular activating system starts to look for the things that we decide it should look for. So it's pretty amazing, and congratulations on that awareness.
Thank you so much, and I love you all, and I'm grateful for you all as well.
Love you too as well, LaToya. Well, good morning, Misfits. It is Friday, April 24th, 2020, episode 429. We have these conversations on a daily basis to awaken, to explore, to investigate, to challenge some of the old status. You just heard LaToya talk about how she's writing with her non-dominant hand now for about 3 months, and her awareness of things, her seeing of things has changed dramatically. That's because it absolutely is using a different part of the brain completely when she's writing with her non-dominant hand. So very cool. How many things are non-dominant in our life? Our awareness, our understanding, our seeing, our hearing, right? If you listened right now in your room, what could you hear that you didn't hear just a minute ago? And not a new noise, an old noise that's been there. This phenomenon that LaToya talks about becoming aware of is breaking habitualization. When you break habitualization, when you break that story that has become so common. See, the brain looks for two things. It looks for, will this kill me? Or how fast can I recognize the pattern? That's why we'll hear things. You've heard me mention it many times on the show. You'll hear things. You go to a restaurant and somebody drops a tray of dishes or glasses, and the body first jumps because it's an abnormal noise. It's a non-normal noise. And then once you realize that your brain runs through thousands of patterns that could be in a restaurant of what makes sense for it to look for how fast can I recognize the pattern? We've never heard dishes fall in that restaurant before, but instantly in a nanosecond, we recognize it as somebody dropped a tray of dishes. That makes sense. So therefore, the brain looks for two things. Will it kill me? That's the jump. Do I need to get ready to move, fight or flight? And then once the brain continues to process, oh, that's just a tray of dishes over there. How does everybody relieve the tension? You're in a restaurant, a whole bunch of dishes fall, or some glasses fall, or maybe one glass falls. You're sitting at the bar and one glass falls. What does everybody typically do to relieve the tension? They clap. Why is that? That's a normal expression of releasing the adrenaline that was in the body. It was a normal way for the brain to calm itself back down, going, oh, prefrontal cortex, let's do some motor movements to show that things are okay. Yeah, there's a lot of science behind just a plate of dishes, a tray of dishes falling. So that brings me to this question this morning. How much of your belief system is the equivalent to having a cold? You know, ready for this? Listen, How much of your belief system is equivalent to you having a cold? You're waiting on a cure to come along so you can get rid of the torment and you can become whole and healthy. Ooh, snap. How much of your belief system is the equivalent to having a cold? You're waiting for me to say something. You're waiting to read a book. You're waiting for somebody to come along and give you some nugget that you can write down and go, ooh, I feel better. Oh my gosh, I feel so much better now that I hear that. And you're waiting for the cure to come along to get rid of your torment so you can be whole and healthy. What are you hoping to have a dose of in your life today? What are you hoping that you'll have somebody drop a dropper full under your tongue or a pill in your mouth or a shot in the arm? What are you hoping for a dose of today? Because I could tell you, I could give you a sugar pill and tell you it'll cure everything and some of your lives will change. I could tell you the exact phrase or sentence or speak into you for an hour with the exact rewiring of your brain and the rewiring of your mind, and it'll never take. What's the story? In what arrangement will the dose work best? Right? You know, people who are on like 13 meds, right? They got to take this, then they take that because of the side effects of this, then they take that one because of the side effects of those two, and they got to take it in order. They got to take them in sequence. What's the best formula? What's the best formula for you to receive your dose of success? What arrangement will serve you well today? What arrangement will serve you well in your business today to create success? Well, the first arrangement is you need customers. You need somebody to talk to. What do you need before that? What do you need before somebody to talk to? You need to have your energy in place. What energy do you have in place? Happiness, misery, or joy? I have joy. So what are the feelings that you have to get you to joy? What are the thoughts that have created your current state of mind? How did you wake up this morning? Did you wake up in a state of joy or did you wake up in a state of misery? Did you check your phone 18 times before you got on? Some of you sent out your messages already. For those of you that have joined us, did you send out your 3 messages this morning? Of joy, of gratitude, of expression of love, of thankfulness, of gratitude? There's some D's showing up. Awesome. D's mean that they did it. They're done. Anyone new on the call? I'm just looking. I don't think I see any new names on the call, at least not on the front screen. I see some old friends back. That's awesome. Great to have you all back again. Glad to see that we showed up at the right time for you this morning. That's outstanding. There might be a couple of new folks here. Where are my glasses? Did I see? No. Second day here. Way to go. I think it's Tony. Great to have you here, second day. Send some love to all of the new folks that are here. Let's see here. Just checking the names, looking at them. Cool. So what arrangement, what dose do you need a whole bunch more of? There's a first timer. Great to have you here. Somebody send Albert some gratitude. Welcome him to the community. What do you need a dose of today? Think about that. What do you need a dose of today? Do you need a dose of courage? Do you need a dose of humility? Do you need a dose of awareness? I've said this before. Some of you may know this answer, but how many, if I were to ask you to name as many emotions, right, those feelings, if I were to ask you to name as many emotions as you can, what number do you think we have? Type it in the chat. How many emotions do you think we have been able to identify? happiness, sad, joy, gratitude, pissed off, right? How many different emotions do you think we've been able to identify? Type a number in the chat. 200 is a good number. It's a little bit higher than that. Somebody type in what they thought would be a crazy number, just a crazy number. It's actually a multiple of those numbers. Thousands, yep. Joanne's getting closer. 30,000, yeah, 35,000. 35,000 different kinds of emotions we've been able to name and identify. Now that's just individual. We know there's some emotions in there that actually, when we're this and this, would actually it's a blending of it. So it's just those individual emotions, but together they create a whole new feeling. So, but 35,000 unique emotions. So when you ask somebody, how are you feeling? You might be in for a long answer. Here's another question. Stop taking, oh, wait a minute. What of your current supplements will you stop taking to see if they were part of the cure or the cause? Right? When you're taking supplements and you get a reaction, oh, I broke out, I get a headache. First thing everybody wants to say is, oh, I got to stop taking that. Well, maybe it's rewiring, maybe it's helping the body, maybe it's detoxing. But have you ever decided who you're going to stop taking? If you look at all of the input that comes into your life, right? My company's called Mental Profits. Your thoughts create your income. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about everything that comes into your life. Your thoughts are created by everything habitual, everything non-habitual in your life. So what supplements of your personality, the events that you do, the people you hang around, the books you read, the news you listen to or don't listen to, the time you spend outside, the time you spend in concert with the earth, sitting on it, walking on it barefoot, the time you spend in frustration, the time you spend in conversation. What are the supplements you take that build your personality? I keep wanting to say personal reality. What makes up your personal reality? So which one of those supplements would you stop taking? How do you stop taking doubt? How do you stop taking fear? Here's something that I've worked on. I don't know whether it's consciously or subconsciously, but it's served me well over the last 30 years. Is I can kind of understand, right? Spend 5 minutes with me and I can tell you where you're going. Spend 5 minutes with me and I can tell you where you've been. I see the supplements you've been taking. I see the results of the drugs you've been on, the illusions you've been on, the truths you've been on, the truths that don't hold any truth that you've been taking. That's just from thousands and thousands and thousands of interviews. So what supplement would you need to stop taking today to create your success? Would you have to stop? Is it okay if you stop taking the supplement, I'm not good enough? Would it be okay if you stop taking that nobody loves me supplement? Would it be okay if you started to say, you know what, I'm not going to take that. I'm not a good speaker. I'm not good at that. Fill in the blank. I'm just not going to take that pill today. Now, if you've been taking a pill for a very long time, if you've been taking a drug for a very long time, does one day stopping it make the craving for it go away? This is why we call it addiction to approval. It is a drug that runs in your body that's stronger than any morphine you'll take. Addiction to approval is real. Addiction to approval is what drives you to be in a responsive mode that doesn't serve you well at all. You're responding to everybody else versus your own desires, your own wishes, and your own dreams. This is why you're the one that goes to bed and says, I didn't get enough done today, wakes up saying, I didn't get enough sleep today, and then starts your day saying there's not enough time. That's only you. That ain't nobody else's fault. That's the way you're looking at things. That's you not good enough. That's you not being present. What happens if you decide to be present in this moment? How joyous can you be in this moment? You've got internet, you've got people, you're in some kind of a building or a vehicle, right? Somewhere where you've got power. I say vehicle because for 3 years I was homeless. My bride and I were homeless with Mason. We weren't homeless, but our house was destroyed in the hurricanes and we didn't have a home for 3 years. So when you're staying at people's houses or having to move because of this, that, or the other, when you do a business like I do, you've got to do a lot of it out in the car so you don't wake everybody up when you work with a global business. So maybe you're in a car right now. Maybe you're in a vehicle right now trying to build your business and you're saying, I got to get this done. Some of you know that sometimes the internet's gone out here at the house and I've got to run over to McDonald's and I'm borrowing McDonald's Wi-Fi from the truck, sitting in the Hummer having a conversation with y'all. Why? Because things got to get done. What supplement would you stop taking today? I'd be curious what supplement you would take off of your ingestion today if you typed it in the chat. Let's see if anybody's got some awareness of what supplement they want to stop taking. What tests have you performed to confirm your current results? Some of you say, well, I would never speak. I'm not comfortable speaking, but you'll come on here and you and I will have a conversation and you'll be having a conversation in front of 70 people. What pill are you taking that is masking your greatness?
Can I expand on your proposition and offer you an example?
Sure.
Kind of interesting. I was thinking of offering this concept a little bit this morning before you started. You asked what would be the one thing I would want more of today.
Yes.
That was one of your earlier questions.
Yep.
I would want more flexibility in my ability to respond. If there's anything that I've come to totally believe, it's that if you only have one opportunity or one tool or one perspective, you're almost like stuck in a rut, which is some people define as a grave with the ends kicked out of. If you only have two options, you're on the horns of a dilemma. But if you start to have three or more, now you got choice. And when you first articulated, as you often have, the brain goes through two major steps. I want to offer a third one. We first check to make sure we're not going to get killed by something we're experiencing, something we're faced with. And then we start to look to see if we can recognize the pattern of what we're experiencing. And the third thing that I think our brain does it, and this is where we sort of get into trouble, and that is we go through an effort to try to remember the patterns that we encounter. And we can do it in any one of three ways. We can remember, we can forget the pattern that we've just experienced, or we can properly remember the pattern in such a way that we can use it properly. But then we can also remember a pattern and never forget it when we have a better solution later on. An example is, from my own personal life, was back in 1985, a whole 35 years ago, I decided I wanted to help people. I got tired of programming hard computers and thought I'd like to help people reprogram their minds and their emotional experiences. And so I spent a lot of money and a lot of time studying that and started to practice and do interesting things. And that was all well and good until I ran up into a little bit of a barrier that started when I was about maybe 7 years old. And when I went up to visit my uncle on a farm in Michigan, and one morning I decided I'm going to help my uncle out. So I let the cows in to the barn, and chaos ensued. And after my loving uncle got the barn straightened out, he straightened me out. And of course, you know, being my little innocent do-gooder self at 7 years old, that hurt me tremendously. Here I thought I was doing somebody a favor. And he really came down on me. He said, you know, you don't ever do that again. Well, that was the first one that I can remember like that. But in the ensuing years, I encountered a number of experiences where I reached out to help somebody and got my wrist slapped for it. So now here I am entering a field where my whole incentive, my whole motive was to help other people. Excuse me. And I encounter these old feelings. Oh, you're going to help that person? Oh, I don't know. So it's held me back. I can probably say that I still feel a little twinge of it even today. And I'm almost 3 times as old as many of you people on this call. So the point is, what I would wish for would be more tools, more perspectives, more ways to deal with whatever comes my way. Because I've had to acquire a lot of tools and new perspectives to change that old pattern that my brain was trying to, you know, my brain was trying to serve me at that time. My brain was trying to protect me from somebody who would attack me for helping them out. But it became an old pattern that I had to deal with. So maybe this expansion I'm offering is a little additional perspective on what your brain does. Yeah, it looks to see if something's going to kill you, and looks to see if you can recognize a pattern that you've encountered before. But then more or less, it tries to remember a pattern that you want to either use for your well-being, better well-being. And that's where we got to be careful, because we can remember patterns that were useful at the time, but now are no longer appropriate for the challenge that we're faced with today. So.
Absolutely. The brain does amazing things. And to go along with your third part of what the brain does after, if it recognizes it, and if it doesn't recognize it, it fills in the blanks, so it does. We've heard things and we go, and how many times have we heard somebody say something and you responded and they go, what did you respond to? What was the question? And they say something like, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, oh, that's not what I heard at all.
Yeah, we cannot not attempt to make a meaning of whatever we're experiencing.
Right. Yeah, no, the brain goes through this amazing process of putting something into a bucket when sometimes it doesn't really need to be there.
But now if we listen to L. Michael Hall, we recognize that now we can stand back from any experience and make a better meaning. We can say something different about it that leads to a better feeling, a better emotion, an expanded way of dealing with something, we can change that perspective if we stand back, if we're quick enough to remember to stand back and say, oh, wait a minute, what does this really mean? Or what meaning could I make of it? Yeah, this is pretty bad, a pretty bad experience, but gee, I'm learning something from this. There's any number of ways that we can change the meaning of any experience that we're encountering in the moment.
Yeah, again, it takes a consciousness to step back and ask the question, what's the lesson? What's the feeling? What's the emotion that was just raised? What pattern just ran? What program just got plugged in? What game just got plugged into the console that allows me to play this game I'm about to step into? Yeah, and that's called pausing, breathing, and understanding, and just becoming aware. Great concept, great conversation. And again, this all happens inside of your head in the blink of an eye. This all happens in your head in the blink of an eye. When you meet a prospect for the first time, no fewer than 105 decisions are made with the visual eye. The challenge is, so here's the thing, 105 decisions get made when you meet somebody. When you visually see somebody, you make 105 decisions in the first 5 seconds. Think of how many decisions that is per second, 20, 30 decisions per second. So if that's the case, then what if you're having a conversation with somebody over the phone? You lose a little bit of those abilities to make those decisions. So you're still going to try to make those decisions. Now you make them based upon somebody's voice, based upon the way the speed of their voice, the sound of their voice. All of these things, right? If you've studied public speaking at all, the words make up how much of 100% of your presentation. Your words that everybody works on. Everybody wants a script. Everybody wants just the language. Give me the words. Give me the letters to put together a sentence. Words make up 7% of your presentation. And how many of you are fighting and crushing and just absolutely going and saying, tell me what to say? 7% of the words. Now you understand why most people are having 93% failure, because they're studying the words. Tell me the words. I can say the words. I'm going to say the same words to the same to everybody different. How's that working for you? Scripts will never work. Even if you got the exact same words, you're going to say it different every single time. What if you learned how to say it differently? What if you gave yourself, what if you forgot about the words? How many of you have ever looked at a loved one or sitting across from a friend, a buddy, a good friend, male or female, and you heard something that somebody said and you looked at each other and you almost died laughing? You didn't say a single thing. Do you remember when you were a little kid and you just started laughing at the table and your mom or dad kept yelling at you, stop laughing, and you couldn't stop laughing? Did you ever laugh so hard something came out your nose? That's usually not by yourself. That's usually something triggered that. You didn't have to say a thing. Did you ever get the smile from somebody that you admired and it changed your soul? It made your heart melt? Whether it be somebody your age that you were trying to connect with or be a baby. How many times how many times have we fallen in laughter with a baby who's laughing and he's got the giggles going? And you're just like, it is not the words. It's not the words. Words are 7% of it. Why is everybody focusing on the smallest part of a conversation? Do you understand how to put pause in your conversation? Do you understand how to put speed and change it up, do you know when you need to just lower your voice and have a conversation? Are there times when you have to pick it up and speed it up and you got to have a conversation so it actually draws people in and it gets their attention, it wakes them up, it starts a little of adrenaline flow? You got to get them going. But if you talk like this all the time, it'd be like, oh, forget it. I can't do that. When you have noteworthy information, are you riding by at 90 miles an hour with your car door open going, get in? And you're not even letting them take down the notes they need to write down. Public speaking is not the words. Public speaking is not the words. The words mean something. The words mean something to the person who pays for your fees. When I went to China to speak a few years back, they invested close to $60,000 for me to speak for 8 hours. They wanted to know what I was going to say. They wanted to know what were the results, what were the predictable results going to come out of my conversation. So you give them a topic, you give them a dialogue, you show them the bullet points to your presentation. They didn't tell me I was going to be simultaneous translated into 12 languages. That changes the presentation. They didn't tell me that in 4 languages, I was going to go from Chinese into English, English into the mother tongue. That changes the presentation. What are you here to speak for? What are you publicly speaking for? Listen, your network marketing business is the equivalent of your public speaking bureau. What are you getting paid right now from your home-based business? That's the equivalent of what you get paid to stand on stage to speak. One of two things. You either need a bigger audience or you need to be a better trainer. Well, yeah, but I tell everybody what to do, but they don't do it. Okay. Are you trying to give them a script, or are you trying to help them find their way? Or are you trying to cure them? Some of us get into the white labs, we put on our white coats and we go, I'm going to fix you. Boy, you better have 16 PhDs and 18 years of tenureship. You better have your name on the side of a building if you're going to go fix somebody. How can you go fix them when we're all broken? Yeah, but I know exactly, I could tell them exactly what they need to do. Why don't you listen to that echo and see if you can tell yourself what you need to do? This is about you taking care of you today, not tomorrow, not the next day, not a week from now. What's the result you want out of today? How do you know when you put your head on the pillow, you can go, you know what? I'm glad I did. As opposed to 98%, 99% of the population saying, I wish I had. If there's an ounce of frustration in your body right now, if there's an ounce of desire that's a dread, I need people, it's getting near the end of the month, I got to get people, I got to go prospect. That's dread. Another month goes by and I can't believe I'm still stuck where I'm at. My check's not going to go up. That's dread. That's you needing to change a supplement in your day. Because if you go after people with dread, right? We heard Les Brown say in the interview I did the other day, commission breath. You know what's worse than commission breath? dread breath. Ugh, I really need them. I hope they join me. They better, man, I need them to join me. I could fix them. They'd be so good at this. What are you doing to become good at it? What is the business model you're in? What is the thing that you do? What's the thing that's required of you? To have a conversation with another human being and to inspire them to follow you down a path that they're happy that they made the decision so that they'll keep doing it day in, day out. Do you understand human mechanics? Do you understand human psychology? Do you understand what it means to get a yes and people lie to you with a yes? Do you understand that a no, of course, isn't a no? We hear that all the time in sales. The pitch doesn't start till you get your first no. But we're in such a lack of incompetence in human nature that we think a script is going to fix that. Listen, that's where you can go for the numbers. How many of you have heard you got to go for no? You got to go get 500 no's. Keep a notebook, get 500 no's. The reason you got to get 500 no's is simple math. Let's make it 400 no's because I'm not a big math genius and it's easier for me to work that way. Do you realize 3 out of the next 4 people you talk to are not like you? Hippocrates, when people would get ill, he realized there's 4 groups of people that you can put people in, 4 buckets. Why do you think every disc test or bird test or color test or farm animal test, I'm a yellow, I'm a pig, I'm a wolf, I'm a eagle, I'm a blue, I'm a green, I'm a D, I'm a C, I'm an S. Every personality plan puts people into 4 different people, 4 different categories. That hasn't changed since Hippocrates. That's 2,000 years old. So 3 out of the next 4 people you're going to meet are not like you. And you're having a conversation in your language, they're hearing in their language, and the 2 of you seem to never quite connect. You have 2 monologues that bump into each other every now and then. And you fail at human nature. You fail to listen with the intent to understand, Covey says it. Do you know what group you're in? And if you're a red, good luck. If you're a yellow, good luck. I don't know if you're if you're a bear, good luck. If you're a turtle, good luck. 75% of the people you're going to have a conversation with will not connect with you. It's why I listen to people on this call. Dr. Wayne Dyer said one time he saw this couple come up to him. And this couple came up to him after one of his conversations and they were going, "Oh my God, Dr. Dyer, we love you. We found you at a meeting 2 years ago. Both of us, we met at a meeting. We've fallen in love with each other. We finish each other's sentences. Life is perfect." He said, I walked away going, they're doomed. My daddy used to say, if we agree on everything, we don't need one of us. The challenge is that you're trying to use your language to speak to 75% of the people you're going to encounter, and they can't hear you because they haven't tuned their self to be open up to look for somebody like you, to look for the challenges. You look at a cross section of this community right here. Y'all don't look like me. Y'all don't talk like me. There's a handful of you that are here, but of the 94 people here, we are more different than we're alike. And I'm excited. Because we've been able to cross barrier of race, creed, color, age, religion. And it's a psychographic, not a demographic. Do you speak to a psychographic or a demographic? If you're doing more talking than listening, you're speaking to a demographic that can't hear you. 75% chance they can't hear you. They heard you, but they can't hear you. I gotta put my glasses on to read the screen. Yeah, psychographic is a mindset. That's why there can be people on here. Listen, there's people on here 17 years old, 18 years old. And there's people who are, as it was affectionately said earlier, 3 times your age. How old are your thoughts? You want to have some drinking around the fire conversation? How old are your thoughts? How deep of a connection do you create with somebody when you meet them? See, when you start to read and start to follow things like Epictetus, the manual, when you look at things like Marcus Aurelius, when you look at books that have been written a long time ago, the Bible, when you listen to books written over 100 years ago, nothing they wanted. Epictetus, Stoicism means porch. Stoic is, they used to sit around in the town on porches around the well, somewhere in the square, somewhere they would meet and gather. And they would discuss the same damn things we're discussing. If they found the answer, if anybody's ever found the answer, so here's the question, has anybody ever found the answer to create success? The answer to that is yes. And if somebody has, why haven't the rest of us? What's the common part of the formula? They found it, you read it, didn't adapt it yet. See, here's the challenge with any education that we have. Follow me on this. The challenge with most education that we receive is because the education we get is based on somebody who's smarter than we are. Or not smarter, and that's the stuff we go, glad I didn't have to go through that one, right? The Bible's got it kind of laid out pretty cool. I'm not a scholar of it, but there's things to do and things to avoid. They even put it in different colors for us. It said in the Bible one time too, I lay before you life and death, choose life. Why would they have to give us the cheat code to something that seems so obvious? Because it's not obvious in our subconscious. So if a 3%er, if you'd like to all become part of the 3% club, right? Top 3% of the wealth, 3% of your time, 3% of your investments, returning more than 22%, all of these things. All of these things, it's the 3%er. So now all of a sudden you're the 3%er. You've enrolled somebody. You're not quite sure how you enrolled them, but you've enrolled somebody. You might have even enrolled 2 people. And now all of a sudden you want to go into management mode. Let me tell you how to enroll people. You got lucky. Jim Rohn says, if you know your numbers, you can do the math, you can succeed. I can always beat you if I know my numbers. If I get 1 out of 100 and you get 2 out of 12, I'll still beat you because I know my numbers. I'll just do the math. I'll put the numbers on the board, but I'll get better. So now all of a sudden you're listening, you're buying the books of 97%ers. I'm sorry, of 3%ers, and you're in the 97% club. How could you even speak the language? How could you even speak the language of a 3%er? How could you even read the words of a 3%er? How can you sit in the audience of a 3%er and go, I can do this? It's because you're already a 3%er. You were a 3%er before you sat down. You got inspired, you got motivated, you got energized, you got intrigued, you started to ask questions, you were changing the way you look at things, and the things you looked at change. You said, I could do this, you had belief, you had confidence. Then why when you leave an event, do you fall back in the same, as Bob said, the same rut, which is a grave with the ends kicked off? Yeah, Alex, everything you need, you already have. Why do we forget what we have? Because of the old story, because we were listening, we were inspired by a 3%er, and they didn't give us the cheat code to get out of our 97% failure mindset. So what do? We hear lessons like binaural beats. We hear lessons like positive self-talk. We hear lessons like journal. We hear lessons like meditate. Yeah, but I want to get it done. Do you have a story that you carry with you? Do you think that story runs at a subconscious level, 70,000 thoughts a day, 14,000 words a minute that you're not even aware of, you're not even conscious of? How do you change the old story? You first got to recognize it. Your brain has done amazing things to keep you safe, to keep you protected. Some of your old stories are tragedies. I get it. It's wired in. You're probably not going to be able to. There's a phenomenon in the brain called neural pruning. When you stop thinking about something, that neural connection goes away. The memory isn't lost, but the neural connection's not there. Everything you've ever said, anything that's ever been said to you has been recorded in your brain. That which you repeat on a regular basis becomes permanent. Right? When I was growing up, there's some of you that are old enough. How many of you could remember phone numbers, right? You had to remember phone numbers. Some of us had to dial phone numbers like this. We thought push button was like, dang. And then we got the cordless phone. Woo! Walk outside with it. How many of us are trying to work in the digital age with technology and rewiring our brain, and we still have to go dial the old formula to unlock it? You know why your brain is as good as it is? Because of your parents and your grandparents and your great-great-grandparents. How many of you met your great-great-great-great-grandfather or grandmother? No, I didn't. That'd be like crazy. That's like 4 generations ago, a couple hundred years ago. Their nose is on your face. Their nose is on your face. You're the accumulation of everything that's happened before you. You are the avatar of your generation right now. And you think you're going to unwire 2,000 years of history, of 2,000 years of abuse, of challenge? The answer to that is yes, you can. Do you have the ability to work through a challenge of life-threatening experiences? What do you think it would take to unlock and to deal with being raped twice a day? Once in the morning by your father and once in the afternoon by your stepfather for 10 years. Do you think that might leave a scar on you? Wasn't me, somebody on this call. Wasn't me. But if somebody could unlock that, if somebody could walk through that, if somebody could walk away from that, if somebody could use that now as the stepping stones for their future, realizing how powerful they are, realizing how strong they are, versus the story that went on for 30 years, 40 years of I'm not good enough. Somebody who goes on a trip to Colombia and it spends 3 years away from their child, they're away from their baby for 3 years in a Colombian prison. That happened to somebody on this call. Why does our life have to seem like when we hear those stories, we go, well, I haven't had a life full of shit. Maybe I need to have that before something happens. Maybe you do. Or maybe you can muster up the desire, maybe you can muster up the focus, and you can create enough emotional change in your body, enough emotional charge in your body that you can say, today is the day I've had enough. The challenge is that most of the times, the only way that day works, because it'll happen. If you haven't had one, it's coming for you. If you haven't had the day you've had enough, slap you across the face, wake you up, it's coming for you. It just is. The challenge is that we wait for the outside world. We wait for them to give it to us versus us taking control of it and us saying, today's the day I've had enough. Well, you could say it is, and then you drink your gallon of water, or you walk your 20 minutes, or you walk your mile, you get your 10,000 steps in, but then what happens tomorrow? The old story goes, yeah, see, you're not good enough. If any of us really made a decision, life would be simple.
I want to revise my statement of what I wanted today, what I wanted more of today. From not just additional perspectives and tools and so on, to the experience of, I've had enough. I want more of those experiences. I've had enough. I'll just leave it there.
Yeah. But see, you heard it as Bob said it, first time, second time, third time. I don't know if you all heard a little difference in that third one than I did in the first one. Is today the day you've had enough? And here's what happens. Here's what happens when you decide the day I've had enough, or I've had enough of that, or I've had enough of them, or I've had enough of this or that bullshit or this over here. When you decide you've had enough, there is a stoicism. There is a calmness. There is a there's not a dang thing in the world. When somebody says, I'm going to do something, listen, I've had lots of conversations with people in business. I've had a lot of people say, would you sponsor me in your business? And I'd go, well, it takes a lot for me to sponsor you personally. If you want to join me in business, if you want to be a part of me in business, you've got to be a part of me in life. I am not sponsoring you in my business because I need to find out, are you somebody that I would invite to my house? Are you somebody that I would take to the beach? Would you be somebody that I would want you around my family? Are you somebody that I could count on in a storm to come to your house? Could you count on me to come to my house? See, I don't sponsor people. I had enough of having conversations about trying to sponsor people and motivate people. But if you want to come into my world, if you want to be a part of my community in my business world, you got to be a part of my community in my family world, in raising my child, in being an influence. Do my dogs like you? And if you fail any one of those, at any one of those, I politely decline and say, you know what? You would work amazingly well with so-and-so. It's not uncommon for me to have a relationship with somebody for a year, 2 years, 6 years before I ever sponsor them in business. Good Lord. Listen, remember, ask yourself this question. How long is your legacy going to last? How long are you building a legacy for right now? Mine's for 600 generations. You're trying to figure out how to get a check for next week. I get it. I've been there. Till I decided I made a decision, Latin or Greek, I'm not sure which one it is, to cut off. Incision is to cut in. Decision is to cut off. And if you're going to be a part of my organization, if you're going to be a part of my family, you're going to have to do the right activities. And the right activities is to pick the thing that's most important and work towards that. Stop building everything else. Stop building a company. Stop building a business. Start building you. Because I can help you build you. I can't help you build 5 businesses. I can't help you build 38 different companies. I can't help you talk about 78 different ingredients. But I can help people in any organization. I can help people with any company because I build people. It's why CEOs call me all the time. That's just a title they have, means responsibility. It's why marketing officers from around the globe call me and go, what's the story? We're short on event people coming to events. Well, I'm not getting any of those calls now. Now I'm getting the calls. How do we get people to a Zoom? How do we get a conversation with people? How do we inspire people to show back up for a conversation? You know what's happening? I don't know if it's happening on your calls, on your company calls, but when somebody gets asked to tell a testimonial, it's like a run-on story because they haven't had a chance to communicate with anybody and they get a spotlight to be in front of an audience and they just ramble because they need to be heard. Can you sit quietly enough with somebody today and let them be heard? Because if you do that, your business will change forever. So what supplement do you need to stop taking to see if that's the reason for your current status? What's the decision you need to make today? What is today the day you've had enough? Can you be inquisitive with people? Can you be curious about people? Do you know more about them than they know about you when you finish a conversation? Did you expand their dreams of possibility? Or did you inform them about yours? If I were to ask you, what is your mission? What is your mission on this planet right now? Is it one that would inspire the masses for generations? Or does it inspire people into an idea of slavery? Ooh, snap. Do you inspire people? Does your presentation, is it designed to enslave somebody's dreams? Or is it to give them freedom that they've never had before? And if you think money is freedom, tell that to a little 4-year-old baby, 5-year-old who's playing at the ocean's edge with a sand bucket and a shovel. How much freedom do they have? Tell me that money is what gives you freedom. Tell that to a 3-year-old who can't even really, I don't know how old you are when you speak, but there's 6 puppies that are climbing all over them, licking them. Tell me that required money and fame and fortune and desire and push and dread and drudgery. You all have lost your ability to be free. Until you circle around certain friends and you start to have that freedom laugh. You start to have that exchange of dialogue that flows without any challenge. If you're asking, what do I say? What do I say to my prospects? You're in prison. You are in a prison. And you keep asking everybody else for the key. You keep asking everybody else for the cheat code. I could give you the perfect words, but it ain't going to work because you put it into your mindset, and it can only come out with your essence on it. How do you change your desire to give them freedom? Have you ever stopped and helped somebody on the side of the road? You ever given somebody $5 at the corner, will work for food, help homeless, hungry? If you've ever helped anybody, you know the feeling of freedom. Here's the hardest question you'll ask yourself today. What freedom do you deserve today? What freedom of choice, what freedom of love, what freedom of peace, of thought, of process, the freedom to sit still for a minute. Can you sit in silence and fall back in love with you? Because inside of a 60-second conversation, you will reveal to the world who you are. Humanity is predictable, right? The stories that are going to come out of COVID of people saying the whole thing was a scam, predictable. Of saying it's too early, predictable. Of saying we've waited too long, predictable. Why is it that we've created a world that has enslaved everybody to put their authority in something they have no authority over? Isn't what we do one of the greatest opportunities for everybody? And there's going to be people in our profession who come out of this COVID and go, "Oh, you don't be stupid. You're going to need another job." And they're going to give our industry another black eye. Not that we need one. Both eyes have already been blackened for a while, because everybody gets in it for the right reason and does the wrong thing. Can you have a conversation and hold a space of love for the person you're having a conversation with? You have a choice today. You have a choice in this moment, misery or joy. It doesn't get any more complicated than that. I lay before you life and death. Oh, by the way, here's the cheat code. Choose life. How come there's not bumper stickers like that? How come we talk about degrading women or using language that seems like it's hip or cool? If everything has a vibration, and I believe everybody believes everything has a vibration, why would you ever let something cross your lips or cross your mind that has a negative vibration? How is that even possible? How is that even possible that you think you're going to win when you're using all of the things that are negative and have a negative vibration by science, by design, by all of these things other than me? I hold no authority over any of the information. But if we were to use kinesiology, and if you can hold something to your chest and go, is this good for me or not good for me? You'll either lean forward or back. You'll either have your strength or not. If your heart knows it's good, I dare you to write those words on paper, hold it to your heart, and see how strong you really are. Oh, well, but that's just how our culture talks. You're right. Is there an underlying phenomenon? Is there an underlying theme that your culture has? And listen, I've stood on stage in 30 countries, over 30 countries. Everybody's got their little idiosyncrasies. Well, how is it if you blame it on your culture? That's exactly proving the case that you're your avatars. You're the avatars of everything that's happened before you. When is it time to break the chains? When is it the day you've decided you've had enough? When are you going to invest in yourself in a way you've never invested before so that you can have the results you keep dreaming about and waking up frustrated you don't have? Because they're as close as your skin. Anything you want is as close as your skin. It's just that close. There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made that permeates and penetrates and fills the inner spaces of the universe. That mantra has been around for over 100 years. Science of Getting Rich, Wallace D. Wattles. Burning Desire, Chapter 1, Napoleon Hill. All of these books that you buy, all of these tapes that you listen to, all of these seminars you attend, all of these notebooks that you have. One day, I'd love to challenge somebody to see. This is just within the last year and a half. So when I tell you to journal, do you journal? Do you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books that have 200 pages in them each? Sean, what's your secret? Right there. It ain't my smarts. It ain't my schooling. What do I mean by journaling? Writing down your thoughts, journaling every night. What I do well, what could I do better? What talent, resource, or skill do I need to come into my life tomorrow? Write down the notes. I don't walk anywhere without a journal. The cashier could say something to me that I believe is brilliant, and I'll write it down. That's where a lot of these notes come from, is just paying attention to the world. When do you want to develop your personal theories so you can operate with a confidence in the science and human behavior? That's got a big old gold star next to it. When do you want to develop your personal theory so that you can operate with confidence in the science of human behavior? That's all you all are doing, is trying to operate in the science of human behavior, and you keep trying to script it. You keep trying to piss people off to join you in your own series. Theory is what you think is a theory is what you believe will work. A hypothesis is what you think will come from it. Just Google the word theory. Theory is what you believe. If this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, and then your theory is proven right or proven wrong. Hypothesis is you have no experience. See, every time I have a conversation with you, I have a theory. And you'll hear me ask, Alyssa, you'll hear me ask, am I on target or am I completely off? Is my theory messed up? See, some of you, we've had a conversation and I kind of say things to you that you're like, holy crap, does he have a camera on me? Because I develop a theory based upon the way you answer questions or have a conversation with me. So that's how I understand human behavior. I understand the science of human behavior. If I say up, y'all just said without even knowing it, y'all said down. I say in, you say out. I say hot, you say cold. I say join me in business. I've created a whole set of calculations that have run in your head about what is join you in business, and the word join, the word business. Every word has a vibration. And if you're not sure the words you're using, you're not even sure the vibration you're putting out into the world, into your prospect. Some of you have been on this call enough, you'll know that I sit down with somebody and say, how could I be of service? Some of you have done 3-ways with me for a while, and we'll talk, and I'll get all of the information. Why are we having this call? And I'll get the setup for the 3-way and everything else. The person gets on the call, and I go, how can I be of best service? Nobody wants to hear me talk. Literally, y'all don't want to hear me talk. Y'all are waiting for a nugget to go, ooh, that's good. Here's the challenge with listening to me and giving me any authority. Giving me any authority over any note you write in your book. It means that I'm the one you've got to come to for your source, and I ain't your source. I hope you take it and you start to dive into it, delve into it. I am not your source. I'm glad that you come here. 104 people now come here, and then they'll all be leaving here shortly because they're going to go to another source. But that might be the issue. Don't come here and don't go there, one or the other, because here's why I say that. You getting excited doesn't serve you. Nobody gets paid to practice. You get paid to perform. You know why I'm better than most? Because every morning I wake up and for an hour, 2 hours, for 100 hours, for 800 hours, for 1,000 hours, I've practiced every morning for the last 428, I don't know how many episodes, 429 episodes. I've performed every morning. This ain't no practice for me. This is a performance. And you all keep showing up because I'm not here practicing. Some of you have been in the audience for 1,000 hours. When is it time for you to perform? Yeah, but you keep getting better. That's by design. If I was the same guy that got on here December 18th, 2018, 428 episodes ago, this show would be over by episode 4. You get paid to perform. And if you're in this business of networking, your job description is only 2 things. Find customers, build leaders. We're not in the teaching mode. We're not in the education mode. We're not in the convincing mode. I'm not in the enrolling you mode. I'm not in the teaching you a comp plan mode. I'm not in teaching you the back office mode. Figure it out. Because if I got to spend my time teaching you how to get into a back office, if I got to take my time to teach you a comp plan, I don't get paid for that. I have a responsibility to me and my family to be a better dad, better husband every day. And I get paid to do 2 things, find customers and build leaders. I don't have a whole lot of customers. I love customers. I love customers in my business. Got 30,000 of them in Latin America. I'm not good with customers. I can't serve a customer well. I don't have a customer mindset. I got people who will. I got people who can. I'm a people builder. What's your job description? Are you a recruiter? That's your job description. I got to show the plan 10 times a day. That's your job description. What's your job description? What do you get paid for? Your company doesn't pay you to teach the comp plan. Your sponsor does. Your upline does. They get paid when you inspire somebody to get started. They get a little thank you. How's your business? How's your business? Your business starts from you down. How's your business? Are you frustrated over your business? Are you think there should be more in your business? Do you think there should be less in your business? What's your job description? To move people. I was asked by a global platform that's coming out could have some significant impact in the business world. I was asked to be one of the 4 coaches, one of the 4 mentors that the company has to offer to its audiences. All on storytelling. Do you think we're coming out of this COVID? Do you think we're coming out of this global pandemic? People are going to have to restate their story. When somebody asks you what you do, if any of you have ever been asked, well, how much money do you make in your business? If any of you have ever been asked by that, and I would think all of us have, you know what the question that's going to come out that nobody's prepared for? That nobody's got, a handful of people are prepared for it. How did you help the world during COVID? See, there's a moment in history right now that if you've donated food, that if you've helped a neighbor, that if you've helped somebody, that's going to be part of your resume. What did you do during COVID? How did you help the world? And if your answer to that is you don't know, then I'd suggest you change that today. These calls, I'm helping generations. 115 people on the call right now. It's shocking that as we get later, it keeps going up. So some of y'all must be calling people going, you got to get on here. This is crazy. This guy's a nut job. This is like watching a tornado, a train wreck. Or you're thinking maybe quite possibly there's something of value here. You should get on here. But I believe right now you are, every one of you, it doesn't matter your age or race or anything else, your demographic, the psychographic that's on here is what's going to save the world. The Dalai Lama said the world will be saved by the Western woman. I just think we need to take the Western out. There is such a humanity that's necessary right now that, listen, if you build your business and you learn how to be able to give women a space of place, of safety, of health, of love, of gratitude, and not feeling like they're a thing or talking down to them, if you can get over your male ego-ness and your male stupidness, this is my words, not yours. If you can find a place to give the female initiative and spirit a place to grow, well, yeah, let's look at your organization. 80% leaders led by women. I mentored 2 brothers for 8 years, 6 years, and started a business. The reason their businesses were so successful is because of the number of amazing, strong women that come into your business. Every one of you ladies that are on here right now, this is your moment. This is your place. And if we got to do a call, just ladies, I'm all for it. Because you're what's going to save this world. It's time for you to step up without having to be the witch on a broomstick or a bitch on wheels or whatever the phrase is. This is your moment. And you don't have to be tough as nails in this world. You can be, listen, Mother Teresa never raised her voice, one of the most influential people on the face of the planet. I get teared up every time I think of it because few people ever know the story. You realize she had handlers, right? You realize there was a whole global connection of people that monitored whatever she wanted. My little Mother Teresa from Calcutta. She would say, don't invite me to a march against war. Invite me to a march for peace and I'll show up. She'd say, I'd want to go to the UN. How many of us have 8 different models of aircraft on the tarmac, fueled and ready, that when she makes a decision where she wants to go, when you make a decision where you want to go, they light up at least 2 of them, depending upon she may change her decision where she wants to go en route to the airport. You just think you know rich people. You know, rich people, you may not know wealth. It's time for your wealth to show up in your world. You keep hunting riches. I said it yesterday. You've hunted riches, you've hunted women, you've hunted liquor, you've hunted drugs. One of the greatest sutras ever written is a half sentence. And now, yoga. And I ain't talking about getting your mat out and flexing and sweating and Bikram. I'm talking yoga. Yoga means oneness. Is today the day you've had enough of trying to be rich and you decide it's time to be wealthy? I can't think of anybody else who deserves it more than you, the listener, right now. If you're in my audience right now, you're a little odd. you're a little weird. You're a little young Frankenstein reference here. You're a little Abby normal. You don't deserve to be rich. You deserve to be wealthy. And your frustration and aggravation and pissed offness and the world is stupid and I don't know why they don't get it, that's because you're hunting riches. You're so much better than riches.
I think at a fundamental level, what we're really looking for is freedom.
Yeah.
And it's our attachments that confine us to that.
Yep.
And so what we really need to do is each and every one of us need to enter into a process of creative destruction where we destroy our prior organization and rise out of the ashes into something new. I can offer a little teaching story along that line from a friend of mine. There were a couple of guys that owned a restaurant at 11 Madison Park. At one time they were a 2-star Michelin restaurant, and to be rated in the Michelin rating is a very significant thing. And over a period of years, they continually improved their restaurant to the point where it became a 3-star restaurant.
Uh-oh, can I go? Can you?
Got it.
And they got to the point where they were rated as a 3-star, which is really the best in the world. So you can imagine when you're recognized as #1 restaurant in the world, you're going to have a waiting list almost every night. You know, you can raise your prices and ride that out for years and years. And so you've earned it due to your hard work and achievement. Well, they decided to do something different. They decided to burn it all down and reinvent themselves. And they did that. They even took all the pots and pans from the kitchen, had it all melded down and reformed into a step that's at the front of the new restaurant that they opened.
Wow.
The type of person or people that it takes to start a restaurant, build it over years and have it become the #1 restaurant in the world are the same type of badasses who, once they achieve it, decide to burn it all down and create something new. They let it all go to rise again and create something even more wonderful. And I think that's a good model for ourselves. What, you know, you ask what supplements would we forego today to make an improvement? But I think, unfortunately, our culture has us believing that we need to follow everybody else's footsteps. We've got to blindly obey the patterns that are laid out for us, but don't really allow us the freedom to become better until we recognize that and challenge it.
The phrase, nothing fails like success.
Exactly.
Yep.
So for me, the fundamental criterion is what can I do today that really creates more freedom for myself and those that I care about. It may be more money, that might help, but it might also be, I need to change the way I'm thinking about something. I need to change, reorganize my values, get to know what my real core values are and how I have them organized. What practices am I following that foster freedom for myself and the people I care about? And what do I need to destroy in my old patterns that no longer serve me in that quest?
So here's the question, everybody. What's going to burn what's going to burn up today? What doubt? What old story? But the biggest challenge is that once it burns up, how do you come out as an original? If all of your old programming is designed to keep you stuck. How many times have we had breakthroughs only to break through into more of what we were trying to avoid? But we did it with more vigor and we did it with more energy and we see the same pattern and we got into another crappy relationship. But this one's going to be different. We found another business and this one sucks just as much as the last one. And this compensation plan is 10 times better, but I haven't made a god dang penny.
And I have to commend Rhonda, who posted on Facebook the other day, the wisdom to ask, what's your after you made your next $1 million or after you changed your relationship or whatever? What's the after that? How far ahead are you thinking? Are you targeting? What kind of a dream are you really building? That's a very powerful tool to use. What's the after that you're considering?
I got to commend the audience that's here because you're still here. I'd love to see if you type in the chat, one thing you learned, one thing you liked. If anybody like to share with me on camera or on audio, one thing you learned, one thing you liked from our conversation today. Good morning, Alex. One thing you learned, one thing you liked.
Good morning, Sean. What's up? How are you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing amazing, brother. Hugs to Serbia.
Hugs back to Dallas, right? Yeah, so a lot of things with you. There's when you ask me what I learned and what I loved, it's a choice actually. With you, every morning it's a choice. So I got to pick and choose what I learned so far, which is astonishing, right? But I would like to think about the interview you sent me yesterday with Mr. Les Brown and Leslie Brown, correct?
Yep, John Leslie, yep.
John Leslie, yeah. And I actually shared some quotes in the chat. I don't know if anybody has seen it, but that interview was about 20 minutes long, 20-ish, something like that.
There's another 30 minutes coming.
Thank you, Sean, for that. I actually took around 2 pages of like that big-ass notebook of notes for that 20-minute call because that man is just all around brilliant. And I just wanted to share a couple of things from that interview, which I think correlate with today's call. Interviews.com, correct? All of you can send an email there and you're going to get the interview from Sean, if you did not know that. Anyway, I want to share a couple of things that I think would correlate with this call today, which is the first thing we talked about, our limitations and our potentials. So Les Brown in the interview talks about this misunderstanding of human nature that has come to be in the last somewhat years or decades, which is that we most often focus on our limitations instead of our potentials. Okay, so people oftentimes say, I cannot, and they say I can, and they're both usually right. The one who says he can, he can. The only limits we acknowledge are in our own mind. So when you say I cannot do that, it's true. You you cannot and you will not. If you say you can, you will do it. So the power of words is that when you're given a presentation, and this is I think I learned this from yesterday. When you're given out a presentation, it's much more powerful who you are behind the words you're telling instead of what are you telling. That's something I picked up, and something Sean has said a few days ago. Your vibe will create your tribe. Okay, for me that was extremely powerful and brilliant. So I just wanted to share that. And the other thing about which is your state of mind when you're thinking about limitations and potential is that a quote from Oliver Wendell Holmes, and he goes, and I love this. He goes, "Once a man's mind exceeds a certain concept and experience, it can never settle for less." Okay, so once you start opening yourself, uh, once you start thinking about the what Bob said after, which Rhonda said, right? When you start thinking about that, it's you can never set for less. It takes 21 days to build a habit, right? When you build productive habits, your life is going to change, and you're never going to settle for anything less, because why would you backtrack, right? That has absolutely no sense. So for me, the thing I kind of low-key already knew from yesterday, and thank you, Sean, so much once again for the interview. It was absolutely brilliant. Is the power of words. When you spend, Sean always emphasizes this. 3/4 of the people you're gonna talk to cannot hear you if you use your essence in your conversation with them, right? So they cannot hear you. So how can you make them hear you, right? The power of words. And that's something I learned the very first day I came here. I repeated every day, repetition of thought, right? I repeated every day, and thank you, Sean, for that. That's the thing I learned. The thing I loved about this conversation and every other conversation we have daily is the conversation itself. I love you all, folks. I'm very grateful for all of you. Thank you for being a wonderful, wonderful community. And it's an honor to have you on the line every day. So I hope you all have an amazing day for me.
Way to go, Alex. I'm not sure. Have you ever done any public speaking?
Ooh boy, no. I actually
Have you ever
love
stood
that.
up? So have you ever stood up and spoke in front of an audience of 100?
That's my after goal.
Okay, well, you just
my
listen. Let me let you in on a little secret. You just did it this morning of 102.
Thank you. Gotta start somewhere, right? Gotta start somewhere. That's my after. I would like to, just make a
Well, it
certain
doesn't have
fixed
to be
amount
your
of money.
after. It's your now. You just spoke on stage with one of the
No.
top speakers in the world, and
Yeah.
you got to share in my audience. So you just shared the stage with me. So just FYI, y'all
Thank you
don't
very
ever
much.
forget that.
Yeah.
These are things that you get to do every time you come on here. You should be doing. I would encourage you. You get to say, I just shared the stage with a global speaker this morning on a morning call. It's not about leveraging me. It's about leveraging the connections you have. See, this is why some of you, I'm going to say it bluntly, suck at marketing.
Yeah.
It used to be when you guys got on here, you would take that. I would see my Instagram blow up and you would say, some of you have said he's amazing and this, that, and the other. And some of you have stopped doing that because I don't know why. But if every time I got on the stage with Les Brown, I'd be promoting the hell out of it every single day. If every time I got on the stage with Mark Victor Hansen, I'd be promoting it every day.
Yeah.
I'm one of your, and this isn't to you, Alex, this is to everybody else on here. You're missing out on a great opportunity to get an audience to say, how do you get to spend time with Sean? even if it's for no other reason than to be something different than a pose of you in a pencil dress showing your hiney looking off into the distance. If you're in the business of success, why not post some pictures of you with somebody with success? Tell what you learned. You want to draw attention? You want to draw attention to your Instagram? Teach somebody something as opposed to telling them what they should be doing. You should be trading. You should be healthy. You should be traveling. You should be this. You should be jumping off a bridge, is what they're saying back. If you'd like to get my notes from this morning's call with Sean Murphy, who stood on stage in 30 countries, translated into 40 languages, has helped and educated companies to do over $2 billion in sales, send me a DM. I'll send you my notes. You want to build your audience? You want to get people raising their hand going, I'd like to join you in business? I'm okay if you feel extraordinarily comfortable with me. I want you to feel extraordinarily comfortable. But I'm not going to stand here and tell you to promote me when you're not even promoting yourself. I don't want you to promote me. I don't need you to promote me. I'd love if you did, but I don't need it. I want it. I don't need it. It would be awesome if you all snapped a picture right now and posted it on Instagram and tagged me in it. Sean G. Murphy now. Don't have to. But you're missing out on a huge thing because I'm not part of your company. I'm not in trading. I'm not in trading. I'm in my own company. And it's going to take you a whole bunch of mules to get it out of me what I'm doing because it doesn't matter. I'm in the business of building people. Go build you. Tell the stories. You all spent an hour, 90 minutes with me this morning. 100 of you spent 90 minutes with me. Shouldn't you get a little reward? Shouldn't you be able to promote that? That you just spent 90 minutes with a guy who gets 15 grand for an hour on stage? How much did you all pay? I'm not saying this to say that I'm that special. I'm a farm boy from Ohio, barely made it out of high school. But I've done some things that most people haven't. I'm sitting here giving you all this because I want you to succeed. I have this ultimate desire to watch you all take the stage and set the world straight. Build you, not your company. That's all. Just some thoughts. Ashley, you got your hand up.
Alex should freely restrict himself to considering what is after is.
Yeah, because he already did his after.
That's like a common plan or whatever, but yeah, let it go.
Ashley, you got your hand up, my dear.
Hey guys, good morning. So I caught like the end of today's conversation, but what I thought about was with the analogy for the business owners that were able to take their company from a 2-star to like a 5-star $1 million industry, and then took the basis of the tools in that case for a restaurant, it would be like their cooking supplies, so their pots and pans, melted it down and used it as the step for their next restaurant. I guess 2 things. One that made me think of like a phoenix, and I don't know why, because like phoenixes are shown as like on fire, and they burn
out of the ashes.
Come out of the ashes and are reborn into something else or something greater than it originally was. And then the symbolism in the part that they took the pans, melted that down, and then created it as their foundation is interesting, because to me, that's taking the core of who you are. So you may achieve whatever your first year goal or 5-year goal is, right? And you take the core of who you are, the principles that you've learned in that process, are able to kind of shed away that layer that took you to that initial level, and now use that as the cement and the foundation, which is solid, to build the next level for you. So I guess for me, it was a lot of kind of symbolism in that, and then analogies when you talk about, I think it was a couple weeks ago, in regards to the mountain and you coaching people up to a certain peak, and then them realizing, hey, okay, this is not the end all be all, that there's more elevation to climb. And so kind of that's, in a sense, that's what I got from that. I don't know if that's making sense.
And here's what's so amazing about that story you just shared, Ashley. What did the pots and pans and all of the utensils turn into?
Silver, or really a step. It's a step.
We're having a conversation about a stupid step. But why are we having a conversation about the step? Because of the symbolism. Here's my question. If the people who encounter you are not talking about you, you haven't even made it to the level of a step yet. That's a little pop right in the nose. Can you have a conversation with somebody that makes them at least remember you as much as we remember a melted down pots and pans step somewhere in the world?
Yes.
Yes. Are you worthy of being a step, Ashley?
More than a step.
Yeah. But what if you were the perfect step? Do you have to be more than a step?
No.
No. So what if we became the perfect step? Any of you ever been to Puerto Rico? Any of you ever walked in old San Juan? If you ever go into the old stores, you ever see the steps where the steps are wore down in the middle? You know how many millions of times somebody's had to step on those steps to wear them down? The stories that's behind them, if those walls could talk. What are we doing? Listen, I get wore down every day. I go into meditation, I get built back up. Why do I excel at the rate that I excel? The reason I excel at the rate I excel is because every day I give away an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours of everything inside of me. You know what that makes room for? More of what I want and less of what I don't.
Right.
What are you going to give away today? How are you going to become a worn out step today in the life of others? Or are you a step that's being used as a battering ram? I love that look.
Because I'm thinking.
Uh-huh.
Huh. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
What if they put the step at the back door? I bet the step's at the front door. I could be wrong, but what if they put the step at the back door? Would anybody know about it? Just the delivery people, would they pay attention to it? Wouldn't give it a second's thought. But I bet there's a plaque that explains what the step is for anybody, or if any of us ever go there. Oh, I heard about this step. You haven't even gotten in the restaurant. It's brilliant marketing.
Right.
Did you see them? Listen, there's a fire in Ireland. I love this because when I owned my Irish restaurant, Murphy's Steakhouse and Pub, people would come back from Ireland. They said, we were on a trip and there was this little pub and they told us the fire had been burning for 300 years. I said, oh, you believed it, did you now? They said, yeah. I said, did you happen to see when they lit it? No. I said, it had been 300 fucking years ago. Were you there when they lit it? No. Then how do you believe it's 300 years burning? Did you happen to see the little switch next to the fireplace? They said, no. I said, it's a damn gas fire. They turn it on when you come in. We can be told a story. It just proves we should be good storytellers. Has the fire been burning for 300? There's a place that makes the little square hamburgers with cheese on them. It's somewhere in New York or Jersey or Manhattan or Boston or somewhere. And it's the same grease they've had for 100 years. I'm okay with believing that. What story do you tell? What story do you have that people say, oh my God, you wouldn't believe it about you? Become the step and make sure you're front and center and let people walk all over you because you're worthy. You can rebuild. You can fix yourself. You should have some scars in it. Paulo Coelho in his book, Manuscript Found in a Car, the scars you carry are stronger than the sword that made them. Why are you all hiding your scars in the back, in the closet? Does that help, Ashley? No.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm thinking about a lot of things.
Journal.
Yeah. Okay.
Journal. Write it down. And if you can't write fast enough, just do it in audio. Just talk yourself through it.
Okay. I'll
But
probably do that.
You're gonna have awakenings, but just start talking, and then
Okay.
go hug a tree.
Okay. I'll make sure to do that today too.
All right. I love you.
All right. Love you too. Thanks, Sean.
Okay. Vach. Good morning, Vach.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so one thing I learned and one thing I liked.
Yep.
One thing I learned, I guess I would just say the questions that you had us like ask ourselves. All of them kind of helped me learn a lot more about myself. And then one thing I liked, well, I guess this is something that I like every day, is the fact that you challenge our current mental state, or what it is that we're doing or thinking. And for me, personally, it kind of like launches me forward the more that you challenge what it is that I'm thinking, and like, am I really doing it right, or am I just doing it, or not doing it with intention or purpose or whatever it may be. So that's my one thing I learned and one thing that I liked. And then I also wanted to share something with you.
Okay.
Well, you, Rhonda and Brittany, I guess. The last.
Watch this. Is Brittany here? I'm here. Why y'all think I'm not here?
Okay, so I think maybe it was 2 weeks ago, we had that conversation about like my mom and my connection with her and everything.
Yeah.
So I came across this video by Wayne Dyer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dr. Wayne Dyer.
And he talked about like his connection with his dad, and that he never really achieved like too much success until he actually let go of what he was dealing with his dad. And he was like, I just found myself one day where I think he said he went to his grave or something, but he kind of just expressed everything that he had to say. And he was like, literally, like that same day or within that week, I was achieving more success in my business and within my life than I had ever before. And I watched that video about a week ago. And at the time I was like, I don't think that I'm strong enough to talk to my mom or, have that conversation or anything like that. And I guess the more that I thought about it, I was just kind of like, well, who's telling me that I'm not strong enough? Like, is that the story that I'm telling myself? I was like having Sean talk to me in my head about what
I hate it when that happens.
No, I love it when that happens.
I know.
So I was just like, okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I just don't know when, and just, it was a lot. So today, last night, my mentor basically told us like, that we need to schedule our days better and stuff like that. So I scheduled my day for today, and I did a meditation right before this call. And then I was like, okay, I'm thinking about the stuff that I'm grateful for. And I actually decided to reach out to my mom this morning. And I sent her a text message. And I just really wanted to read what it said, because I felt like it was such a, like after or while I was sending it, it was such a weight lifted off of me. And so it basically reads this. Good morning. I just wanted to message you and say that I release all negative energy between us and all traumas from one another. I pray life upon you, and that we both allow ourselves to embark on beautiful journeys. I am love and life because of you. I am grateful for every experience that we've had with one another. I am releasing anger from us both. I ask that the universe, God, and the divine oneness that we share to clear any blockages that exist in our mind, bodies, souls, and auras. I allow the spirit of abundance and prosperity to flow like a stream in our lives. I am forever connected to you, and you are forever connected to me. I allow all negative energy in our DNA to be transformed into greater, more positive energies. I align us with success and abundance as the opportunity of growth approaches us in each moment. I love me, and I am learning to love you through the DNA that we share. Thank you for doing your best with what you were given in life, in prosperity.
You know, you could sell that for $1.99 as an app for everybody to download and send it to their parents.
Oh my goodness.
You laugh.
No word of a lie.
You laugh, but actually do that.
Just tell them.
Seriously, do it.
You need
Did
to
she respond?
We can make it $2.99.
Oh my God. No, she actually has me blocked. So I didn't notice that.
How do you know
I
that?
sent it. Because you
Oh,
can
she has the
tell
iPhone?
it doesn't deliver yet.
Oh, well, email it to her. Her phone may be dead.
No.
Oh, well, just send it in an email. But at the same time, it don't even matter because you already released it.
Right.
So it don't matter if she
I
received
just
it
sent it
or
to
not.
her email.
So you did your part. But seriously, make that, take what Sean said and actually do that. We told you this.
Make it into an app. I don't even know what that means.
Girl, I
guys.
tell Bachi something every day.
She does. Every day.
Literally.
make it into a lead magnet. The best. You want to take your business to the next level? Send the release text. Email me at, what is it, Billionaire Vach? What is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Billionaire Vach.
Yeah.
And send it out in a mass text message.
It could just, or you can be something like how I made, like, you know what I'm saying? How I became successful by healing the relationship with my mother. Because I'm telling you, like, the more I get on these calls, it was not my turn to talk.
Brittany, it's okay. Go ahead and talk.
I like the robe.
Thank you. But it's like, I'm telling y'all, like, the more I get on these calls and the more I talk about the trauma that I have with my own mother, everybody can relate to that because it just happens more often than not. And it's such a taboo topic. So once you open up about it, you know what I'm saying? People will like, and once you know that that's something that's holding you back and that's released, because even with my own mom, like, she is so tied to the hate that she has for my grandma. Like, her whole life has been hella stressful, you know? So I was like, oh no, I'm not doing that. You know, so I already forgave her a long time ago, even if she still does stuff every single day that like pisses me off or that, you know, tries to get to me. But that would be very helpful to people, I think.
No. Well, thank you guys. I'm just like, oh, I just want to share what I did. Like, I'm so proud of myself. And everybody's like, yes.
Drop your Instagram in the chat. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. But anyways, okay, bye.
Okay. But yeah, I really wanted to do that because I know that Sean and Rhonda, you know, when you guys spoke to me about like how we're connected through our DNA and everything, like it really hit home for me because I guess I wasn't thinking that way. So when I started thinking that way, you know, it just seemed like, you know, this was something that I really needed to release in order to, you know, for me to experience any growth within myself. So, yeah.
So I have a question. Like, you just did that this morning, but like, what has been different in your world already?
I just feel a lot lighter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't feel like how Sean said on the call where I talked about my mom, that, you know, I talk to her every day, like I do. And since then I haven't thought any like bad things. Like, I've just wished her like growth and healing and stuff like that. And I was still just like, I guess, holding on to what I felt instead of just, you know, saying out loud that I forgive her, because I kept saying that inside, like, but never once like expressed it to her or tried to communicate what I was feeling. So once I actually formed it into words after my meditation this morning, it was just kind of like, whew.
That was about to be my next question, like to Sean. Like, is it necessary that you actually contact the person, or can you write it down on a paper and burn it? Can you write it down on a paper and bury it? Can you just speak it out loud? Like, or do you actually have to contact the person for it to work, or for it to have its maximum power?
Great question. How many of us have stood in front of somebody that said they loved us and knew there was absolutely not an ounce of love in their human connection? So the same thing holds true. If the emotion is there and the body feels it and releases it, it doesn't matter whether they hear it or not.
Okay.
Right? How many of us have ever heard, write your issues, write your problems on the edge of the edge of the ocean at low tide, and see how long they last. See how long you can hold back the sea. And you realize Ecclesiastes in a book in the Bible says you don't really need to read much more than the first sentence, the first two sentences. It says everything is meaningless. Meaningless, simply meaningless. And this is from the wisest man that lived. Solomon said that. Everything is meaningless. I had all of this, I had all of that, it's all meaningless. It's like chasing the wind. And that's all we do with our issues, is we chase the wind. We want to have some validation, we want to have some vindication, we want to have some victory. Well, in your hunt for victory, you're a victim.
Whew. Whew. Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Rhonda, where are you? I needed to hear your voice.
I'm here. I was just waiting for everything to kind of calm down for a minute, because as you began to speak, before you even started opening everything up and saying anything, what I was writing down before you even opened your mouth, this is what I was writing down. Making room, i.e., letting go, giving thanks, releasing emotions of all kinds for more to come in is so important. However, what you release and how you release it will attract what you sent out to come back in. So release everything in peace, in love, and in gratitude, because that will allow for the same to return to you. And as you're talking, I'm writing this down and I'm like, holy crap, we are on the exact same wavelength. Because what was hitting me was, we talk about this whole release, and you'll have people that have a release, and they'll say, I just need to let this anger go. And they let it go in a state of anger. And that vibration, if we all agree with for lack of better words, your vibe attracts your tribe. If you let those emotions go in anger, first of all, are you really letting them go, or are you just venting? But if you let it go in anger, then you're letting things go in a negative vibration. And if like spirit draws like spirit, what do you attract? You attract the same thing you just let go, because of the state you were in when you let it go. So it's getting to that place, and you got there in this comment, in this statement that you said to your mother. That's why we all were like, oh, you let go of levels of hurt, frustration, and anger, but you really let them go. You didn't vent about them. You didn't rant about them. You let them go in a peace. You let them go in a love. And you let them go in abundance. So what's going to be attracted to you? Peace, love, abundance. So it's funny that you were sitting there saying that, because when you probably go back and watch, if you want to go back and watch the replay, when you start right before you're talking, I've got my head down, and you probably see me holding my paper right here because my cat's in my lap, and I'm sitting here writing, and you start talking, and I go, because I'm like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I wrote down, just in different words. So what you just did is huge. And then the next sentence I wrote down after that was this: if we did what Sean told us to do, we'd all be wealthy instantly. Instantly.
Very true.
True.
Yeah, because that awakening for me happened when I say, like, okay, yesterday Sean talked about we meditate for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then, you know, we expect for that to just be it. Like, yeah, it's great starting out. And I've been like kind of falling off with my meditation. So today I was like, I'm going to meditate for an hour, and which is the longest that I've meditated in a long time. And I did, and I was just like, I don't want to leave it, but I have to get on Sean.
So then I would.
It was just that experience, you know,
Yeah.
that, like, just the way that I guess we're all aligned, because that experience made me actually reach out to my mom to actually say on this call that I actually did it while you were writing something, you know, as beautiful as that. So it's just crazy how everything just goes.
So now that you've released that in a state of love and peace and joy, what I would encourage you to do is go send out no less than 40 or 50 messages of thankfulness and gratitude. Because you're in my life, you gave me courage to release. And I'm sitting here in joy because of you. Thank you. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste 50 times. And you will be shocked. And no word of a lie, you will be shocked and in pure disbelief what will come to you today.
Yeah, but that's easy to do.
Right, exactly. Because we want it hard. Because every single time, and this is going to mesh the two worlds together, all the emotional, spiritual, and the network marketing, or whatever it is you do in life. Every single time I do that, every single time, ask Sean what happens to his cell phone. His cell phone begins to smoke because of all the people that end up attracted to me, that, in lack of better words, you could probably say it like this, and Sean could correct me. I don't know what Rhonda's doing. I just want to do it because she's happy. And I want to be happy. No word of a lie. That's why that epiphany came to me as you were saying that, and as I was getting it. I got to take this robe off. Y'all know I start getting hot when I start talking like this. Go send those out, because you've made the room. And whether you're on the same spiritual walk that I'm on, or concepts, or whatever words you want to use, when you open a space, in the Bible, I read, when I open a space, if I don't fill it with something good, there's two things in the supernatural, good or bad. Both are looking for a place to land. You either fill it with good, or the bad will go, ooh, open space. I think I'll settle right here and just piss her off. And the good is what Sean's teaching us. The concepts Sean's teaching us are so easy that we can't believe they're so easy, so we have to complicate them. So that's why I'm saying go send out no less than 40 or 50 messages. Last night I sat in my bathroom after I got out of the shower, and this is for me, I did it while I wasn't dressed so I could be totally vulnerable. And I sent text messages and I scheduled about 40 messages to go out between the hours of 6:30 this morning or 6:20 this morning until 1 o'clock this afternoon. They're going to leave my phone constantly. And I did it in a state of vulnerability, and I did it in a state of, I hope whoever gets this message feels the love and the joy that they need today. So what do you think my day is going to be like? I know what my day is going to be like. My day is going to be full of gratitude and joy and love. And a lot of it is because I finally quit being stubborn and just did what Sean tells me to do.
Well, so that's the part. So that's teaching from the 3% to the 97%er. What was it that you went through when I would tell you send out messages? You'd be like,
it's stupid.
and
That word. It's the word that I do it.
And you did it.
And I did it anyway.
Until when? You did the stupid thing until when?
Oh, until I had enough.
Till it wasn't no longer stupid.
Stupid, yeah.
Yeah, I've had enough. That's stupid. What he's telling me is so easy, it can't be stupid. I'll just do it. And it's like, no, go ahead, talk.
That reminds me of that story that you told me, Rhonda, about your friend that you had, or that Sean had, like spin in a ballerina circle.
Oh, yeah. So I did that the other day in the shower too. I'm not kidding you. If my husband were to walk in there and see me in the shower, he'd be like, what is wrong with my wife?
Don't ever tell them where you get these ideas. None, y'all.
It's the water.
I'm gonna let y'all, hang on a second. I'm gonna let y'all in on a little behind the scene footage for a minute. You know how Sean always tells us, if I were y'all, I would do this post and and we're all like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That'd be so cool. And then we don't do it. I told Sean, I said, you are missing your opportunities during quarantine. And yes, Sean, I'm fixing to rat us out. And he looked at me, I said, you should be doing posts constantly going, I don't know what all you other men are getting in quarantine, but I have women lining up, texting me saying, I'm in your room waiting on you. Where are you? And it's because we're all waiting to get into his Zoom room. And he has yet to post something like that.
That's smart.
Okay. Thank you.
Come on now, Sean. You know you want to do it.
That's smart.
He does. He does. He does. I even told my husband he was going to, and Rick said that was fine. So now Sean and I get on Zoom calls because we're on Zoom calls probably 85% of the day, and we end up acting like 7th grade, 8th grade kids because we end up with all kinds of crazy comments. But sorry to refocus. Back to what it is. It's those simple little things, and it's having enough, and it's doing something different and doing something crazy. And you set yourself up perfectly, letting go of the bitterness. And Brittany was talking about it with her mom, letting go of all the bitterness and all the frustration and all the worry and all the anger, but you let it go. You didn't vent. I'm all about understanding venting. I'm an auditory processor when it comes to that. I got to get it out so the emotions get out of me. So I have a few friends that I can vent to. But when you actually lay it down and let it go in a state of love and joy, you open yourself up for so much. And that's when wealth comes running to you.
So Rhonda, can you repeat the message one more time?
Oh yeah, here, I'll read it again.
To send.
Making room for more to come in is so important. Letting go, giving thanks, releasing emotions of all kinds. However, what you release and how you release it will attract what you sent out. So releasing everything in peace, in love, and in gratitude, because that will allow for the same to return to you.
I needed that one too. But I was talking about the message you sent to send to 40 people
Oh, you wanted the message to
that you were
send
saying.
to, oh, golly, what did I say? How did I say that, Sean?
You had said something along the lines of, thank you for being in my life. Because of that, you've allowed me to, what was
Allowed
it?
me the courage to something. I couldn't remember the ending. The
I don't know
courage
if I
to
had courage in
leave.
there, but I think it was you allow me to sit in more joy and love.
Okay.
I don't know. Go whenever he throws. You could wait, and I wouldn't. I would sit with the thought and let whatever comes out of your heart come out of your fingers and into the text message.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to
The
tell you
essence
what to
is
say after you wrote that poem to your mom. Yeah, we can.
Oh
right.
my
Exactly.
God.
Right.
Exactly.
And
Just
you know, what's crazy is you said like that you didn't, that I didn't vent or anything like that. But my last message to my mom was as it says on here, September 5th of last year. And I sent a release text message, but it was not at all like the one that I just sent. It was me venting. It was still me, I guess, like angry.
yeah.
At a raw and angry state. And I was just kind of like, it was just not good at all. And then
go ahead.
Typing this and seeing that I had sent that message, I was like, wow, I'm on an entirely different vibration now.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. But keep that perspective kind of Rolodexed away, because like spirit draws like spirit. If you sit in traffic pissed off, 9 times out of 10, what comes around you? Some jerk's going to cut you off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, somebody's going to come around you and be like, oh my gosh. But when you sit in just joy, what comes around? It's peace. It's love. It's, oh my gosh, that car is really in a hurry. You know what? Let me move over for a minute. He'll be an inch by. It's remarkable how simple it is. I get a lot of Sean time. If I posted about the Sean time I got, y'all would never see me ever. Because I get a lot of Sean time, and I can tell you from all the extra Sean time, it just ends up showing how simple what he says does. And there's Beamish. Hello, sweet puppy. So it's just interesting you were saying that, and that's what I was writing down. There's something there. There's a lot there. And I would go back and sit with it and just journal on it. Because I wrote that down, and I wrote some stuff when Bob started talking about making that step, and then Ashley started talking about it. I wrote some stuff down on that, and I have all these crazy questions about making that step. So
Let's hear it.
Y'all want to hear those questions?
I do.
All right, okay, y'all ready? It's a lot of questions. I'll read them kind of quickly. If you take what you built inside you and melted it down to create a foundation, what goes into the fire to melt down? And what kind of fire do you have to build? And how hot of a fire does it have to be? And how long are you in the fire? And what's the fire made of? What had to be burned to make the fire? And are you willing to sacrifice whatever to create that fire? And who created the fire? And what story comes out of the experience of the fire and building a step? It's a lot of questions.
The fire to cool down.
Say again?
How long does it take the fire to cool down?
Well, I was thinking about, so like in the 1500s and earlier, when the Bible was being translated into different languages, there was one point in time where the Roman Catholic Church said it could only be translated into Latin and only the priest could have the Bible. And then they had to translate it to everybody. So basically all the authority of God was there. And there, Wycliffe, a guy by the name of Wycliffe and a guy by the name of Tyndall, they somehow got a copy of the transcripts and they started transcribing them in multiple languages and giving them to anybody so anybody could have access to the Bible. So it took it out of being a monopoly because there was corruption, you know, absolute power, absolute corruption. And I was watching this documentary a couple days ago, and I thought it was very interesting that, first of all, in the Bible, if you follow Jesus, he says, if you follow me, they hated me, they're going to hate you. You're going to be persecuted. So that scripture's playing in my head. But here's what goes back to the fire. These guys would transcribe the Bible and hand them out. And the people that didn't want the masses to be educated, that's a reoccurring theme in history, in anything, not just necessarily with the Bible. The people that didn't want the masses to be educated were hunting these guys, and it would take 10 months to do the whole Bible because you had to do it by hand because there was no printing press yet. And they would find these guys eventually, and both guys in different era, well, kind of the same era, different time frames, both guys were burned at the stake. And the Bibles that they transcribed were used for kindling to start the fire. And so when y'all started talking about the fire and the foundation, I thought, man, what has got to go in that fire? And are you willing to sacrifice whatever it is to go in that fire? Because in this documentary, these men stood on, I guess if you're going to burn my Bibles, burn them. I know that at least one of them survived somewhere, or the education of one of them survived somewhere. And I'll stand here and I'll go in this fire and I'll allow that to be burned for the advancement of the thought process that I was trying to get across. So every day I watch Sean, and he'll never show this, and it probably happens for a split second in his thoughts because he is so full of love and kindness. I watch him willing to be burned at the stake, and everything he's ever given us to be burned with him for the advancement of the thought, so our lives will be better. Every day. And it's remarkable to watch. And if we took that and did that in our lives for people, the course of humanity would change. So that's a little journey into Rhonda's head. Are y'all happy y'all asked me to share that?
How do I get off
feel
this
sorry?
bus? How do I get off this bus?
Do y'all feel sorry for Sean now?
You only thought it was an East Texas twang.
There's more here than East Texas. It's just fun to keep that hidden at times. So we love trips through Rhonda's head. Courtney, stop.
Always, babe. Always.
I love you.
I love you.
There you go, Sean. You're welcome. Have fun.
Let's get these cats back in the bag.
It's like taking a Rubik's Cube and go, and here you go. Have fun. Thank you, Jessica.
I almost had it together. Dakaya, good morning.
Good morning. Wow. First and foremost, I love it here. So earlier, I know you said, in your hunt for victory, you become a victim. And then I wrote, in my hunt for joy, I become peace. And something that I guess that like I learned just in a new light today was just how connected I am, but don't give myself credit for. And something that I really enjoyed was the step and the idea that giving joy and love and letting people borrow your strength doesn't mean that it's gone or that you lose it. So yeah, that's really all for today. Thank you guys. I love you.
Here's what happens when somebody borrows anything of yours.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking it from the outside world, so you never lose it. I use my
Right.
faith in you until you have your own faith. You can't take my faith. You, as much as you use my faith in you, you can never diminish my faith in you.
Right.
Let that settle in for a second. If you use as much faith in me, as much faith in you that I have in you, it still doesn't take away any of the faith I have in you. When that settles in, that'll get your brain scrambled.
Yeah, it's already frying up.
Because we need more of that right now, don't we?
Right.
So yeah, that's why you can use my faith, Rhonda's faith, Dana's faith, Bob's faith, Leslie's faith, anybody's faith. You can use all of that, and it still never takes away. Oh well, now Dakaya's taken my faith, taken the faith I had in her and used it. I don't have faith in her anymore. It never diminishes.
Right. Wow. I never really thought of it that way.
I know. That's why it popped into my head. Say, tell her this.
Thank you, Sean.
Philip in Serbia. Going to Philip. Let's go to Philip on line 37. Philip, how are you?
Hey, Sean, I'm good. How about you?
Outstanding, brother.
Look, I want to go back to your, your start of this conversation when you talk about emotions and how they affect us.
Yep.
And I have a kind of story from my father, when he was a military man, he's retired right now, and et cetera, et cetera. About 21 years ago, a NATO bombarded my country. That's a really sad story. And he was working on radars, and that's the most dangerous position that you can be in that situation. So he told me a story, about his man that didn't want to listen to his commands. There were two buildings near the radars.
Mm-hmm.
One of them were barracks, full, they have a beds, they have everything they need there, and they have a ruined one. My father told them, go to sleep in the ruined ones. Just trust me, don't go there. And they were, okay, and we'll do it, And he woke up at the night. He just wanted to, to check them. Are they okay? Do they need something? And when he went to that, ruined building, he saw that no one's in, no one were in there.
Mm-hmm.
And he ran to the barracks, and he was, like, what the fuck, man? I told you to sleep in the ruined buildings. What are you doing here? And they were like, they are rats. It's not comfortable enough to sleep, etc., etc. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to send you all home if you don't go there. All right? So, they moved to that ruined buildings. And like 30 minutes after that, the airplane, just flew across the barracks and destroyed them to the ground. So he didn't let himself, to be led by anger to the NATO and everything else. He wanted to see the bigger picture. He wanted to be calm. So he saved many lives at that moment. He didn't want to let him to be angry at the situation, to let it, let it fill him up, and he told me that his biggest achievement in that war was, neither one man died, when they were in his command. So yeah, I think that emotions are the biggest part of us. So if we decide to be led by anger and, something that's not good for us, that's negative, it will make more, troubles than what we can do really. We can't see the bigger picture. So that's I just wanted to say to everyone.
I appreciate that. So, Philip, I'm going to expand on that a little bit because I'm not sure everybody grasped the gravity of what you just shared. They heard it like reading it in a book. I know this because I sat in Slovenia one night, and they were having their Independence Day. I said,
right.
"Oh wow, how old is Slovenia? You mean how old is our independence?" At the time I was there, it was 14 years old. So I want
right.
you all to hear what Philip just shared. His dad's in military. 21 years ago, when NATO was bombing Serbia, they were on the front lines of the radars. Radars are very hazardous place. You break the radar so you blow them up. But why did he tell him to go sleep in the old buildings? Why did he tell him to go sleep in the bomb buildings? Why do you bomb something again? But because of the convenience, because of the comfort, because of the I just don't want to sleep with the rats and the dirt and the cold and the dark and the rain and the wet and the whatever it is, they want to go sleep in the new buildings, not realizing that that's what still has yet to be bombed. This goes back to Bob's story. What needs to be burned? And because he forced them to go sleep in the ruins, sometimes we have to sleep in the ruins of our dreams to realize, is this really what we want? And all of those men's lives were saved. Probably didn't get a medal because it wasn't that he actually went out and saved them. But what do we say even about medicine? What do we say about eating healthy? Let thy food be thy medicine. Let thy commander protect you. And that's what he was wanting to do. How many times do people tell you, you should go do this? Why don't you go back and burn everything down? Turn it into a step for your next success. You realize this was 21 years ago. Some of us will never know what it's like to live in a war-torn country. And so you hear these kids get on here and you hear them speak with elegance. You hear them speak with diction. You hear them speak with just courage. 20 years ago, their country was under attack. So, Philip, I just want to thank you for sharing that because you say it you deliver it with such calmness. And it's even from your dad's perspective, and your dad's not going to stand up and wave a flag and go, look what I did. Nobody ever does. Nobody ever comes back from a war wearing their medals and puts them on a wall. It's usually after they're dead and when the family member says we want to pay homage to them. But it's usually after they're dead. Why are we waiting for everybody to come to our funeral and say nice things when we're dead? Why don't you call them up and have them say something nice while you're alive? Why don't you say something nice while you're alive?
Of course.
So
we all wait to lose something so we can, see how much we appreciate that.
Exactly. So, Philip, thanks for being here, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Sean.
Dana Scranton in the house. You outlasted us, Dana.
Yeah, one of the crumbling bricks in the foundation there. Can you hear me?
Yes, hear you perfect, brother.
Okay, great. Well,
Except
a while ago you asked the question.
The boats behind you in the lake, but yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Yeah, it's 35 miles as the crow flies that way. So, anyways, a little while ago you asked the question, what'd you like, what'd you learn? And there's several things. It's innumerable, but I'll try to pick one or two. How's that?
Awesome.
First thing I like was that step story. That just happens to be somewhat synergistic with three posts I did yesterday. Michael isn't on here today. Michael's an engineering major at I think University of Pennsylvania or Penn State. I'm not sure which one. So he had made a comment on somebody's wall, and I happened to see it, and it was a young entrepreneur dude, and so I just shared three little bits of wisdom. But that step story is what I really liked, and you'll see why in just a moment. But what I learned out of today, and obviously many of the other sessions, is you have an endless reservoir of value. And you just need to take your finger out of the dike and float on downstream. Ducks float downstream and they fly away. Nothing's going to happen to you. Just get out of the frickin' way and take your finger out of the dike. Let it flow, because until you do that, the upstream river can't flow in to the reservoir that you need to fill once again. So metaphorically speaking, here's one for you. But I just want to share these 3 points. I'll be somewhat brief. They're a little bit nerdy, but you know, they come from the past. Many years ago, I did a summer internship at Texas Instruments. And back before Texas Instruments was Texas Instruments, it was Geophysical Services, an old oil field exploration company. So I was assigned to this crusty old geezer engineer dude. And I'll tell you what, he talked with a Texas accent. I had to go find somebody to interpret for me. But he said something to me. This was like the first week I was there as an intern. He said, son, says, let me give you a little bit of advice that if you embrace it, you will never regret it. And he said, observe the turtle. Then he went on to explain that the turtle gets nowhere unless it sticks its neck out. But when it pulls its neck in and it's sitting in the middle of the road of life, it gets run over and squashed and it becomes food for the buzzards. So a little bit of philosophy there that kind of plays into what you're saying today. Stick your neck out, take a risk, be vulnerable, and know that you ain't gonna die. You're gonna get out of the road of life and get on with it. So that's point number 1, if that means something to anybody. The other one comes back from college days. I had a professor. He was a retired Marine general, short guy, had the crew cut, had the stare, had a no BS attitude that just, I mean, you knew this guy was a Marine from the onset. But he said one time, he said, be proud of what you know. And that was kind of an interesting comment in the middle of this particular class we're taking, you know, very hairy gas dynamics course. But he said, be proud of what you know, because you never know when the day will come when you will be placed in a position to serve. Well, that's kind of deep, you know, all this esoteric stuff we're learning, but it has value somewhere, which leads me to the third bit of philosophy to share this morning that I took away from this call. And this goes to another class much later, but something called statistical thermodynamics, kind of a weird class. And on the board that day, our professor, who was this awkward, funny looking dude with thick glasses, tall, lanky. Now he spoke with a matter of fact drawl that just, you know, had this kind of a little bit of a bite to it. But he turned around and here's his board full of stuff. Looked like somebody threw a bunch of spaghetti with marinara sauce all over the board. You know, try to make sense out of this, I dare you. And he turns around and he says, right now, he says, all this stuff is screwing with your mind. He said, but you know, it's all philosophy. He said, the thing to remember from all this stuff up here is what you do with it for one person out there somewhere. And that pretty much folds into what we talked about today. It's what you do with what's inside of you, that reservoir of value, that stuff that you're proud or should be proud of owning, that really makes the difference in the world, makes a difference in one life, and takes another molecular layer, an atomic layer off that step. Everything you teach, everything you contribute allows another person to use you as the step to the next level of their life. And they take a little atomic layer off that step. And that's a good thing, because that right there is the legacy that Sean speaks of, the 600 generations plowed into that step that you built at some time because you were proud enough to share what you had and know that it would make a difference. So that's my philosophical takeaway for today, Sean.
Who just wants to put Dana in their pocket or get into Dana's pocket?
I don't want to get in his pocket. I want to take him and put him in my pocket. Sounds better that way. I love you, Dana. That was amazing.
Dana, can you repeat the second part of the turtle gets nowhere unless it sticks its neck out? What did you say about it being in the road?
Well, got the mic off. Observe the turtle, because a turtle never gets anywhere in life without sticking its neck out. And that means a translation of that is you have to take a risk. You have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to understand that you can succeed in life by just sticking your neck out a little bit. It doesn't have to be a lot, but enough to get moving. Because if you don't, and you just sit in the road of life with your head inside the shell, you're going to get run over. And you're going to be food for the buzzards. That's what this crusty old dude shared with me. And that kind of hit me, because, you know, we'll tend to stay in our shells and we don't really know it. It's a comfort thing. We're afraid to get out of our shell, but metaphorically speaking, what you're doing is sitting in the road of life with a great big semi-truck bearing down on you, and you're about to get smashed. And when you get smashed, that hurts. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
You betcha.
I'm going to say it in probably LaRose. Jordani? You got your hand up?
Yes, hello.
Yes.
Yeah, how you doing?
Outstanding. Say your first name for me.
Jordani.
Jordani. Okay. Good morning, Jordani.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? I just wanted to share some stuff. What are the you said so what are the one of the things you wanted us to say was something we learned, and what was the other thing?
Something you learned, something you like.
Okay, so something I learned was you know, developing as a step, like the whole story as a step. That I really felt that, and that was something I already knew that what was going on, but you guys explained it really well. And then something I liked was just how she was talking. I forgot who was talking about it, but how she sent that text message out to her mother, and
yeah,
just, you know, releasing that energy. And even though she didn't receive it, she didn't send it out in a really harsh way or anything like that. She felt it and let it go, and that was pretty much it. And I guess my story is so this weekend I was introduced to a new opportunity, to this you know, business or whatever. And me not knowing what it was at first, I had that. And Bob Proctor spoke about it in his live yesterday, that small voice in your head that, you know, tells you that it just pushes you away from, you know, seeing everything, just taking a hold of a great opportunity, that small voice in your head. And that's pretty much what was going on with my process of just, you know, being where I'm at right now. When I got presented with the opportunity, it just didn't seem real to me. I thought I was getting, you know, pretty much scammed or whatever. And I don't know what it was. It just didn't seem real. And, you know, me being me, I just kept looking into it and just, you know, processing it and just looking it over and over. And eventually I saw something, but it still wasn't the big picture. And so I called a friend and I tried to explain it to him. But the way I was explaining it to him was pretty much like, in my head, I still thought everything was a scam, but it was working for these people. And if I got involved in it, it probably, you know, might work out for me and might work out for him. That's how I started explaining it to him. But, you know, and then I got off the phone with him and still kept doing my research and just kept looking at everything. And everything, I was just connecting smaller dots. And, you know, the person that sent me the link to, you know, get involved in everything, she was, you know, checking up on me and seeing what, like, how I was, you know, seeing everything and stuff like that. And, you know, I was responding to her. I was just like, you know, this is a great opportunity, stuff like this. Is just me being big-headed and stuff like that. Just, I guess, still not seeing the big picture, but I see the somewhat opportunity that could be in it. And when it finally dawned on me that, you know, this is something I can actually do if I put the work into it. This is something, I thought they were just selling, you know, just some stuff. And, you know, if you learn this, you can make a little bit doing that. And then the big money comes from getting more people involved and stuff like that, you know, trying to pull one over on somebody and something like that. And as you know, I'm still doing my research, I'm studying, and I'm looking at it, I'm just like, this is actually something, you know, if I put in the hard work and, you know, study what's going on and, you know, actually develop, and this is where the step comes in, develop an understanding and I guess just know what I'm doing and turn that into something, you know, that can make me successful and bring me income, I can spread that to other people because it's really simple. It's a simple thing. And I'm getting lost in what I'm saying, but
it's okay. How do you feel now that you've made the decision to move forward?
I feel fantastic. I feel like I'm seeing the world from a different perspective. The other night when I realized the potential of what I can do, what I would receive and what I can do for others, right. I was ecstatic. I couldn't even go to sleep the other night thinking about the possibilities.
Here's a couple of questions.
Yep.
You had a truth previous to Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
You had to let go of an old truth.
Yep.
And you took on a new truth.
I did.
The question is how do you know the new truth is true?
Because I see from the people who got me involved, I see the results.
Right, but you're seeing their truth.
I'm seeing their truth, but I see the potential for my truth.
Right, but wasn't your truth already inside of you?
It was. I just neglected it.
So that's what you need to be careful of as you go through this process. Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 22.
Awesome. So you've got a world of experience of 22 years. You think you might, how much of what you don't know do you not know? All of it, right? I could say the same thing to me. How many of us don't know what we don't know? Raise your hand. Everybody's hand goes. I would ask you to go through this experience on a regular basis, what you went through between Thursday last week, Saturday, and today. A truth you had that didn't exist, a truth that got awakened and you decided wasn't true, and now a truth that you're holding on to that will be challenged many times over by people either you encounter who either feed into your truth or try to take away from your truth. Can anybody ever feed into a truth? Can anybody ever take away from your truth?
Not if you don't let them.
Right. Not if you know it's your truth. Yeah. Otherwise, if somebody can inspire you, that's not a truth, that's inspiration.
Yep.
So just be aware of, as you go through this process, always be asking yourself, what is true about this moment? And so when you see somebody getting $10,000 a month, I don't know if that excites you or not.
It does.
Okay, but what if you have a conversation with somebody who's at 100,000 a month? Would you pay attention to the person who makes 10?
I mean, I would still take into account to the person that takes 10, but of course my focus is going to be on how did that person get to the 100,000 a month?
Right. What about somebody who makes 2 million every week? Does 100,000 no longer have any influence?
No, it still does.
So my point is that it's all whether it's 2 million, $2 or 200,000, it's all about the next step.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be focused on the next step and not be tied to not be tied to their outcome. I'd be tied to your income.
And one of my mentors asked me because we got on the call and we were talking about, you know, his first question was, where do you want to go? What do you want to like? What do you want to accomplish? And I just like my first answer to that is I just want to I see myself at the top pretty much.
Right.
And I believe that with all my being.
Yep.
Is that I'm going to get there no matter what, because I see the I see the opportunity and I want to, and I understand that me getting to the top would be, you know, just sharing what I know and trying to further everybody else's experience. And I know that's not going to work 100% of the way all the time, but I'm going to do my best to do that.
So here's a question for you. Do I have your permission to help?
Yes.
Do I have your permission to make you feel a little uncomfortable?
Yes.
Do I have your permission to take you out of that uncomfortable feeling?
Yes.
Do you realize you can't get to the top unless you're there now?
Yes.
Then why do you say I'm going to get my goal is to get to the top? You just talked yourself out of being at the top. I'm just saying this is the semantics. This is the way that we're trained and taught. Not that the person who spoke to you spoke into you. This is the way that we confuse ourselves. If you had a truth on Thursday that was eliminated on Saturday and is now held as a truth on Friday, how is it possible that you can tell yourself that you're not already at the top? Because you're counting it on results. Results are never going to get you to the top. It's your state of mind.
Yes.
So there's the moment you decide you're at the top shows up. But if you think you've got to work hard, you've got to do this, and you've got to get to 10,000 a month, to 200,000 a month, to 2 million a week, that's all in the future. You can't have any of that unless you have it right now. So you didn't have this inspiration that you have right now, speaking about how much you now believe that this opportunity is great for you. It's the perfect thing for you. A week ago Friday, it didn't make sense.
It didn't.
So be aware of how we get manipulated, whether it be upline, downline, crossline, or a book, the next book you read, or the next person that you have a conversation with who will inspire you and get your enthusiasm, right? Jim Rohn said, motivate an idiot. What do you got? A motivated idiot. How did this inspire you? How did you let go of an old truth that was 22 years in the making, instantly goes away? It kind of gets morphed on a Saturday night. You're sitting here on a Friday now, and that old truth was invalidated in a week. 22 years of belief. I'm just saying this for you to take note of how fast you can change this. So this idea that I've got to be like them, I've got to do this, you can't do anything like them. You can only do everything like you. So I would encourage you to get into that state of mind that took you a week to get into that this is the right thing for me, to get into the state of mind, to bring the energy into you, to release all of those other things, to become the burned down step that says, I'm already here, I've arrived. And the second you decide that, you'll have catapulted yourself ahead of everybody else, because now there is no fear and you have the dialogue of, I got to learn something new. Do you think you have to learn the presentation?
No.
Well,
yes.
Well, they're going to tell you do.
Yeah.
You think you need to learn the comp plan? They're going to tell you do.
Yeah. But
what's your number one product? Your number one product is the solution you're about to offer to somebody, no matter what they call it. Comp plan, income, trading, platform, blah, 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 fill in the blank. The only thing you can offer somebody is a solution. You just happen to have a vehicle called your company. When you realize that if you're already at the top, how much do you really need to know about the comp plan to have a conversation with somebody if you're at the top? Aren't you just going to say to them, do you want to ride to the top?
Pretty much.
So then what does it really matter if you know the comp plan? Why do you need to know the comp plan? That's not what you're designed for. That's not what you get paid for, is to know the comp plan. You get paid to find customers and build leaders. What do you think the company's going to pay you more for? Building leaders.
Building leaders.
So why don't you spend time in the development of human science? Why don't you understand how people work, how people operate? Be a student of every conversation you're about to be in. Listen to their response. Look at their history. Oh, that's why they say that response, because they grew up here, they grew up there. Understand human nature more than you understand your comp plan. Some people know their comp plan amazingly well, but they can't even say hello without pissing somebody off.
Yeah.
So that'd be my suggestion. Congratulations on letting go of an old truth that didn't serve you.
Thank you.
Good to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Gigi, where's my Gigi? Where's my Gigi? There's that smile. There's my Gigi.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Gigi.
How are you doing?
Outstanding, my love.
That's good. What was I gonna say? So yeah, what I learned.
Yeah.
I learned that
I thought I made a decision, but I don't think I really did. And I don't know why. I feel
You
like
made an incision. You decided to cut into something, but you didn't cut it off yet. Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down. What do I need to cut off? What I loved is all these questions because I have like 3 pages of questions. And you know, after we get off the call, you're probably gonna get a text message from me in all capital letters with a bunch of exclamation marks saying Sean, because I have like I got a lot of questions to answer. So this is gonna be fun. But this morning kind of started off weird. I had a weird morning. My alarm clock didn't go off at all. And then I was late to the call, but I was really on time. I got there when I was supposed to. And a lot of questions I've been asking myself were kind of answered.
Mm-hmm.
But then they led to me asking more questions.
Okay.
And then about 5 minutes into the call, I heard this like thud on my window. And I was like, what is that? And I went outside. Well, I didn't go outside, but I looked out the window and there was 2 cardinals outside playing. It was like a male and a female, and they were just playing in the bushes. So I'm like, is that what bumped against the window? And I think it was.
How cool is that?
Mm.
So why do you think they bumped against the window?
Because they're trying to tell me something.
Mm-hmm. Have fun.
But the crazy thing is, when they bumped on the window, I was like I was saying a prayer, but I was like setting my intentions for the day.
Uh-huh.
And I assumed that it had to do with the intentions that I was setting.
Cool. Keep journaling. Keep writing questions.
That's my morning so far.
I love it. 2 things before I go to Delia. Is it pronounced Wolfie? I know that's what it says. I love your hair. I wanted to let you know I love your hair and I love your smile. I hadn't seen you before, so thank you for being here.
I got so caught off guard with that.
I do things like that.
Did someone just say my name?
Is that how it said, Wolfie?
Yeah.
Usually when I say Wolfie, it's usually no. It's like Wolfie. Okay. I didn't say it right.
Well, you've heard another name like that before?
Well, it's when you travel internationally, you get a lot of different ways that those names are pronounced. But thank you for being here.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This is my first time here, guys.
Oh, how cool. Great to have you here. Yay. I'm like a little kid. Oh, I got somebody else at school. Yay. And I wanted to say, Jessica, hang on, Wolfie. Jessica, I love your hair. Oh my gosh. So, Wolfie, what did you pick up this morning? Not that you raised your hand, but something drew me to you.
Oh, so I'm a new trader, and everyone pretty much can gauge how stressful that is. If you're a trader here. Sorry, my battery's about to die. 2%. Okay, there we go. So one phrase that I did have before I started trading that I do stand by is, I can't remember the direction it's in, but the root of all suffering is attachment, or attachment is the root of all suffering. I think that was from Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of conversations, that I have, especially like spiritual or leaning towards the metaphysical side, it's more about like, what's stronger than anger? Love. What's stronger than love? Indifference. And it's like we're all using different words, but to me, it's all the same thing. Like Rhonda is saying, stay in your place of joy, stay in your place of peace, no matter what's being thrown at you. Or, I've heard, because I was trading during this conversation, so I'm like in and out, but all I heard was just reaffirmations of, and I'll be honest, like during this call, I was constantly calling myself an idiot because I did lose $100 on my account in the past 30 minutes. But just hearing you guys speak and affirm what I know is, do not be attached to anything. Remain in that space of inner peace and inner joy. Remain in that space of indifference. Doesn't matter how hopeful you are, what it was in the past, and how it's going to be in the future. You have to stay in the present and accept responsibility, you know, for being present and being here. You know, it's not always going to go how you want, whether it's in relationships or trades. But as long as I'm in my centered place, it doesn't matter how, you know, I can just figure out, you know, in that place of peace and in that place of calm is only when you can come up with a sound judgment of what should happen next. Otherwise, it's just pure reaction. And that's what happens when you stay attached to certain things, is you get emotions get so riled up and so misguided, and you get so involved, and it just gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. You don't want to do that. And I'm learning, especially in trading, I'm learning hardcore how not to do that. So yeah, I lost $100, but I'm not bothered. I know that I'm learning and I have confidence in that. And I'm just going to stay present.
Cool. So let me ask you this. Do you believe that there's an ebb and flow, a give and a take in the world? A giving and taking?
It is in everything. From what I believe, that kind of give and take is in everything.
So how could you ever be upset that you lost $100? That just meant somebody else received.
Right. I have so many things that I want to say against that. That's just coming from my doubtful mind. But
sure,
ultimately, yeah, you're 100% correct.
Well, it's. I mean, but if you always won, doesn't that mean everybody else always loses? Because what would you do with the money that you'd win? Right. If you made $100, right, and you took it out of the account, would you store it and bury it under the ground, or would you go spend it somewhere?
Right. I would spend it and it goes back into the economy.
Back into the economy anyways. You just decided to do it on a trade. You put back into the economy. There's nothing wrong with that. We're taught that when you lose, everybody loses. But when you lose, if you're doing it with intention of serving, of being good, how could you ever lose when you lose a trade? You lose $10,000. I've lost $1 million. You know what? The people that got it, hopefully it changed their life.
Right.
What if the trader who got the money, who got the $100 that somewhere, all of a sudden they were able to afford the medicine for their special needs child? That $100 gave them that, and you gave it to them. Change the way we look at things, and the things we look at change.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's easy to say yeah, but it's your 100, not mine. But but thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your smile. Thank you for all that you are and all that you've yet to become.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks, Sean.
You bet. Yay. I got to ask Jessica. Jessica, I just love that hair. Good morning, Jessica.
Good morning.
Where are you from, Jessica?
I'm from London.
Oh, we got like a pack of Londonites now. That's like, I love hearing these. We're at in London.
I live in Wembley.
Oh wow, how cool! So, what brought you here, Jessica? What'd you get from today?
Oh, so much. I have a journal with an elephant. It's my gratitude journal.
Oh.
And I've just been. I love journaling. I love writing. And when Dana was talking about being a step, it hit me because I'm a swim teacher, and I was doing a course, and this guy was leading the course, and he told us we were learning everything from a textbook. And you know, when you get bored, when you're like, oh, I have to write everything from this book now and have to learn, and sometimes learning can be boring. And then he told us this story of how he taught a child to swim no more than 5 meters. And then the next week, the child went on holiday on a cruise ship, and the child fell off the boat.
Wow.
Now, when the child fell off the boat, the child panicked, as anyone would. But the week before the child went on holiday, they did tread water. And it was the tread water that saved the child's life.
Wow.
And now I'm writing here and I'm saying, you know, that's what I see as being the step, is that you're the person that's giving and you're teaching and you're doing all these good things, and those people that you teach and you show them something, you have no idea where they're going to go with it. They could save someone's life. They could change the world with one thing that you taught them, and that's amazing. And I wrote that down. I thought, you know, developing yourself as a step, even if you are going to be a step in life, you might not believe in yourself. You might think, oh, all I'm doing is this again. I do this every day, but you're doing something amazing. And I love teaching. I love motivational speakers, and I see that they're speaking and they're giving their heart every day, and that's unreal. Just like when Vach was talking about that letter, I wanted to cry because I thought, look at that, she could write quotes and put them on Instagram and people would read that and it would touch them and they'd say, my day has changed because I've read something amazing and I'm going to share it with everyone. And I think in the Western world especially, there's not enough of that. There's not enough love, there's not enough light. I think people have money and they just run with it and they buy everything they can, but they don't think about what's important, like their family and their friends. They only think of that at the end of their life.
Powerful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you to everyone here. I mean, the things that you've said, and you've helped me so much, all of you, Rhonda, everyone. It's unreal. It's that connection, you know, that we have is amazing.
I'm super jealous of your hair. I'm just gonna put that out there. It's, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. And I'm like, you're a swim teacher with that hair? Oh, that is interesting, isn't it? It's beautiful.
I never used to like it as a child. Now I try to embrace it. I usually just throw it up so it's not in my way, but
Girl, let it flow. We need to see that. That is amazing. I love it. I love it.
I'm not giving compliments. I go, thank you, and then sort of like, oh.
Well, then let me give you another one so you can practice again. I think you could read like the newspaper or the dictionary to me and your accent, and I would be like, oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, can I ask you two a question? This is really random, but does anyone know Amanda Marshall?
Amanda Marshall.
She's a singer. She's Canadian.
No, but
what does she sing?
We're all Googling her right now.
Google it. She's my cousin. And
oh, cool.
I really, if anyone knew her, I'd be like, oh, but she has a lot of songs. Like she has a song called Believe in You. Everyone on YouTube, look it up. Amanda Marshall, Believe in You. And when I have days where I don't believe in myself, I listen to that song and I'm ready for the day. Wow. Ready for the day. And today, how strange is this? Someone said something about whatever it takes. Who said it? I wrote it down. Someone said, whatever it takes, that's what it takes. And this morning I listened to a song called Whatever It Takes. This morning.
Well, if nobody's taking credit for it, I'll say I said it.
That's really strange. All these things are just connected.
text.
Oh, I don't have her number. And I've always tried to. She doesn't have Instagram. She doesn't have Facebook. People post pictures of her. She's got long hair, and
I was gonna say I could see where the hair comes in. There's
yeah.
There's a relationship there. She's got this mane of hair.
Yeah, people post pictures of her. She sang with Bryan Adams at a concert last year. Yeah. So, but
Well,
she's spreading her love and light, and that's so important.
Well, thank you for sharing her with us. Thank you for sharing you with us.
Thank you, everyone here. Even the people that share something really, really small, have a question. You could be connecting with someone who feels like, oh, none of these things could happen to me, but they can.
The planet is run by insects, not by lions and tigers.
Yes. It's the ants that walk around, and they collect the leaves, and they do everything together, and they're a community. They're the important ones.
Yep, we took away the insects, we'd all be gone in about 18 days.
Yeah. It's when I was younger, I never liked spiders. And my brother used to say, no, you can't get rid of spiders because then there'd be flies everywhere, and you don't like flies. So, and I read a book called How to Save the World in a Day when I was smaller, and one of the second pages said, if there's a spider in the house, pick up the spider with a piece of paper and put it outside. And I said, okay, that's what I have to do to change the world, guys.
Change the world by putting a spider outside. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
I needed to know. I learned in kindergarten.
But it's the simple things. It's the little things. We said that, didn't we?
It's the littlest of things. And everything, it's called stack tolerances. And once we start with one small thing, it goes and goes and goes and goes.
Yeah.
Awesome. What a great conversation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Have a good day, everyone.
You, Jessica. Delia, you got your hand up if you're still here. I think you're still here. Yes, there you are.
Hi, Sean.
Hello, my dear.
Are you tired?
Not yet. It's only 3 hours. People say, how could you talk for 30 minutes? I go, I do calls for 3 hours every morning. I got good practice.
This has been a marathon for you or for me? To listen for 3 hours? I guess I am in a spirituality this morning. Yeah, you talked about spirituality and supernatural the other day. And you said, do something supernatural, something that is not common with you. So I guess I'm supernatural today.
That's awesome.
I received my book because I was listening to Napoleon Hill. There's like an excerpt in Kindle where you listen for 30 minutes.
Right.
And it has a synopsis of the entire book. And I've been writing down my notes every time. And every time I listen, of course, I'm going to change all paradigms. And that's happening. And what I wanted to share with you today was on page 267, I want to talk about inadequacy for a moment and how we are judged by the way that we do things, because for the most part, people are ignorant, not on purpose. They don't know. And they believe that there's a norm in the way that people should behave, act, and move, when there's a science behind why people move, speak, not react. React is a learned behavior, but I'm talking about basically the way we humans move, our thinking process, genuinely, not after it has been, not after the fact that it has been conditioned. Before, when a baby is a baby and a child moves free and has their will, and I noticed that with my grandchildren. But where I'm going with this is, a year ago, And I guess the story will help you understand where I'm going. On page 267, there's an orator here that in order to connect with his subconscious mind and the infinite intelligence, as he's speaking to the crowds, he closes his eyes. And that resonated with me tremendously, because here is the untruth that I learned about me, that it was so inadequate. I've always been one of those people that can see beyond my understanding. And when this friend of mine brought up to my attention that I was closing my eyes in order to give her a solution or an answer to the situation that was discussed a year ago, I became awkwardly inadequate. And I was feeling like a default. I go, why do I close my eyes? Probably because I want to hide my, what do you call it? The condition that I was either born or that I acquired after a high fever. And I didn't know what to answer. And then I said, because I usually like think inside me, I said, I'm thinking so hard to find a way to help you that if I close my eyes, I can concentrate on the answer. Bingo, I read this today on the chapter. And do you know how that resonated with me? He finally told me, Delia, you're okay. I grew up in a family that for many centuries, I believe, criticism was the menu of the day. Very smart people. Even in my great-grandparents' generation, they were all educators and they were people from business to both lines. But the families, even though they were loving, they were very loving, but they were always evaluating. And they were doing this aloud. So I grew up very scrutinized. And I guess when I talk to my prospects, because this is what this is going to, when I talk to my prospects, the truth that was not true all along, and the truth that is true is that I bring into the table or onto the table or the conversation my experience in how I perceive myself by others. Does that make sense?
Hmm?
What I'm saying? Because I'm a little bit like, okay, so I'm putting that feeling, and yesterday when I had my conversation, it was going well, and I got a little bit nervous. And what I noticed that I had never noticed, because I said, I'm going to be like an observer from outside, trying to find a solution for this tutor, but at the same time, trying to see what I feel when I post the questions to this tutor. And I felt nervousness on my part. When I was like cool about it and feeling in domain of the situation, she was calm. The minute that I got nervous, she wanted to hang up. And I let it be. It's like we had said enough. I gave her the solution for the problem that she had, and we parted as good friends, and we're meeting again in a week to talk more about her tutoring business and how can she grow this. So that's what I wanted to share, that the book got to my doorstep before 4 o'clock in the morning, because today I got up at 4. I get up between 4 and 5 to start my daily routine. I love mornings. And the last thing that I want to share, as far as connection with that infinite intelligence and being able to see from a bird's eyes or from an airplane what you might not yet comprehend in the conscious mind, is that in 2000, I had a vision of the towers burning, but I didn't know what it was. Okay, I was going through tremendous stress, previous to the divorce, and I had a panic attack in my classroom. I had to go home. And on the way home, I remember the dream that I had the night before, and it was people jumping from the tower windows in flames.
Wow.
And the message that I heard was, you know, you're not going through anything really. You don't know what's going to happen. And I totally forgot all this because I shared with my teacher assistant. I was teaching kindergarten reading and ESOL, and I was sharing with Linda how unsettled I was that morning after I received a phone call from my husband that the call made me so unsettled that I had to ask for the day off and go pray and go see a priest. And before I left the school, I said I had this awful dream of one of the twin towers burning and people jumping. And do you know what happened? That thought went totally subconscious until the towers burned. And the person that reminded me that dream or nightmare was Linda in 2001, September 11th. She left a message in the old days, we used to have phones with recording, right? She left a message in my recorder that I didn't listen until 10 p.m. but the night of September 11th, saying, I am home, I didn't work this year because I am taking care of my grandchild who's now 3. We were watching Sesame Street and your dream is on TV, and she started to cry. That's all I want to share.
Wow.
It's like I never understood that dream, and you know how many books I've read, and I totally understand what I read and I put it to. That's one thing that I do. My grandfather was very good at teaching me how to apply what I learned from others and sources. But I said, why did I attach that dream to the fact that my marriage was falling apart? And then today I hear on the call, this is how it all ties up. I hear on the call that Dana's friends who own the restaurant burned it down to the bottom to rebuild a better restaurant. It's like, wow. And look, my life after that divorce was rebuilt. It's being rebuilt. Well, you say talking present. I am at the top and it's being rebuilt. It's just a matter of me using the tools to reach where I want to go because everything is out there. So the book came at the right, precise moment. You came into my life at the right, precise moment. The picture that I saw on Facebook from a lady that I met a year ago, the way that she has positioned her hand in her body, I said, why does she have her hand there? Well, after I read this chapter 11, I realized why. She's totally connected to creation. And she's also in networking. And she's searching for me, even though she hid for a year. So go figure. I am happy in this journey. Somebody called me a lunatic in a very polite way. They said in a message this morning, she's 92. She says, Delia, I am so busy. That's the first message that I got this morning when you told us to go and message 3 people. I open my Facebook and I get this message from this 92-year-old Cuban lady. She's adorable, but anyway, she puts, Delia, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for your beautiful message the other day. Understand that I'm very busy because I paint and I'm a chef by trade, and I hope that you're well mentally. And I cracked up. So I said, Delia, answer in love. Don't go against that resistance. Don't try to prove that you are mentally stable. Just be loving. So I pray before I answer, and I put a very short message like, I feel great. And you're right. Mental health is what rules our whole bodies. And I left it at that. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Delia. So there you go, everybody. I appreciate you hanging out with me for 3.5 hours. I hope it served you well. I've got a 10 o'clock call or 9 minutes here that I've got to jump on, another training. But I appreciate you. I love you tons. I'm Sean Murphy, founder of Mental Profits. I'll see y'all where? At the next event. Y'all send some love to each other.
Bye, y'all. Love y'all.
Thank y'all for all showing up. Love you, my Misfit family. Everyone have a
Bye. I
blessed,
love you
faithful
guys.
day.
Thank you. Have an amazing day, everyone. Amazing
I
day.
love you guys so much.
I love y'all.
Bye, guys. Love you.
Love y'all.
Bye.